Wednesday the 12th. Do not miss this first major auction of the new year. Check murphyauction.com for photos and all details. That's murphyauction.com. murphyauction.com.
Bring on the sunshine with a trip to see your Seattle Mariners. Come to sunny and warm Peoria, Arizona for another great year of spring training baseball. There's no better time to wind up at the Peoria Sports Complex where you can see all your favorite Mariners up close. Spring training in Peoria has plenty of sunshine, warm temperatures, and the best seats in baseball. It's family fun for all ages. Book your trip today. Support your Seattle Mariners in Arizona for another exciting spring training season. Get your tickets at peoriabaseball.com.
Shane Company has partnered with Cupid to bring you the best Valentine's Day gifts, even if you forgot. We won't tell. From heart necklaces with sparkling diamonds to stylish gold hoops, every piece is made with love. Plus, there's still time to pop the question on the most romantic day of the year. Create your own engagement ring or pick a perfectly preset ring that's ready to go. We make it easy with gifts for every budget, in stock and ready to give, so it looks like you've been planning this for months. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Additional terms apply.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma.
Give me a freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
I don't read the internet, guys.
Take the bull by the hands.
And Brooke, you are. And Brooke, you are.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Heward and Mike Salk.
All right, good morning. Hi, everybody. Hello, Brock and Salk Show, Seattle Sports 710, seattlesports.com, the Seattle Sports app, all the podcast platforms as well. Thanks for finding us in all the various ways that you do, and we'll keep putting out content in whatever newfangled way you like to consume it. That's our job, and so we'll just keep on doing it. Had a weird experience last night. By the way, I'm feeling like 1,000 times better. I don't know what the deal is.
Good.
Usually your throat, takes a couple days, and then it goes to the nose, and then it goes to the chest, and before you know it, you've been sick for like 2-3 weeks. Like, woke up this morning, and you start doing that, start swallowing, hey, why doesn't it feel like there's razor blades in my throat anymore? That's weird. So, yeah, we'll see if it lasts over the course of the show. I don't want to jinx anything. Maybe this will be an announcer jinx, but feeling pretty good. Nose just a little stuffy, so feeling good for today. All right. I'm out last night after Cecily's hockey practice. She had earned herself a free dessert by scoring a hat trick in the game on Saturday. They offer free dessert to anybody who scores a hat trick. Once Cecily found out dessert was on the line, that was pretty much the end of her passing, unfortunately. So they're going to need to start offering something for assists, because I think they're just going to end up, if other kids are as dessert obsessed as Cecily is, she's not going to pass ever again. So we're going to have to kind of talk through all of that and what it means. But so we go to the Iceplex, and then afterwards we went for dinner there at 32, which is great. They have really good dinner there, and the staff's awesome, and a whole bunch of her teammates are there and hanging out. And we were hanging out with some of the parents, which is great. And I always do enjoy people who aren't they're not sports radio listeners trying to ask questions about what it is we do. And wait, you're on for 4 hours? The idea, she's like, but surely you boil it down to a 1 hour show, right? It's all edited. No, it's 4 hours. Mind exploding at the idea that she's like, what do you do for 4 hours? Just talk? Yeah, that's pretty much the gig. It's just talking. Anyway, great time. As we're leaving, kind of waiting for Cecily, who we'd lost, of course. And this kid is playing. They have a bunch of video games right there by the entrance. They have 3 screens with NHL video games. It's probably not NHL 95, because the world's probably moved on in the last 30 years from the old Sega game. But whatever the latest NHL video game is, they have a couple controllers there and kids are playing. And this kid looks over at me, around my kid's age, and he goes, "You Mike Salk?" I'm just like, yeah. Assuming that he knew one of my kids. He's like, I'll listen to the show every day. That is definitely the first time that's ever happened to me. I've met a lot of nice people. Somebody said hi to me yesterday at Target, which was very nice, as I was attempting to return something that they would not return. It's great every once in a while. It's not like Brock, where everyone recognizes Brock, but every once in a while someone will say, hey, nice to see you, Mike Salk. I listen to the show, and I'm always very grateful and happy that there's somebody out there who noticed me, which is, again, I don't know, happens maybe once a week, twice a week. Like, it's not a regular occurrence. First time in 16 years that someone under the age of 12, because I asked, I was like, how old are you? He was like, I'm 11. Super confident. He's like, yeah, he's done with me. He like immediately wanted to get back to his video game. So even though he was a daily listener and excited to say hi, that was the end of it because the video game was going to take precedence. So weird experience yesterday afternoon, but shout out to oh my God, he told me his name. I think his name is Eric.
Demographic.
Yeah, Lyle, are you helping with that more? You've been helping us add the 30% female listening audience. Lyle, are you helping add the 11-year-old kids?
I'm happy to help grow a younger demographic.
But you don't think that 11 is necessarily your age?
You know, funny enough, there's been some kids in middle school who have like approached us at the ballpark.
I believe that because I watch podcasts.
Yeah.
He was talking about how much he loves SpongeBob SquarePants.
Dude, I totally believe that. I mean, I was listening to sports radio when I was in middle school and
So was I.
even earlier. So yeah, I mean, like that doesn't surprise me. I don't know whether I would have recognized a sports radio host, but again, like, you know, we're on YouTube and stuff. Maybe he's a YouTube viewer. I don't know. Anyway, shout out to, I believe the kid's name was Eric, and if I screw that up, I really feel bad. I'll blame it on being sick. How's that? What is Jerry going to blame it on? Because I'm baffled again by yesterday's presser. It's not quite a press, whatever it was, conference call that Jerry did on Zoom, etc. I'm fairly baffled by all of it. I mean, like, so over the last couple of years, since the 54% deal, Jerry's been pretty quiet, right? We haven't heard nearly as often from Jerry. And I don't know why that is. I can't speculate necessarily, but, you know, we've heard a lot less from him. And my assumption has always been, look, Jerry's an incredibly smart guy. He's incredibly well spoken and he's an excellent communicator. But sometimes his excellence in communication, I think, leads him down a path of trying to explain everything that he's thinking, and you end up with the 54% mess, which, again, I'll say this till forever. I understand what he was trying to say, and I'm not convinced he was wrong. But the way it came out and the way it was perceived and, you know, followed up by the "we're doing you a favor" thing, which is completely indefensible, it just led to a narrative developing that was impossible to shake given the circumstances of everything that had just happened with the team not making the playoffs, players mad, etc. Do I understand the concept of, hey, we're trying to build a sustainable product? Yes. But put it that way, not use a number that is going to give people the option of forever saying, well, you're only trying to win 54%, even though that's not what he wanted to say. Anyway, you get the point. Jerry has not talked nearly as much. But he still talks sometimes. And when he does, we end up with press conferences like yesterday that lead to 2, 3, 4 different sound bites that, played by themselves, are all sort of disastrous and present and paint a picture that really serves to infuriate a large group of Mariner fans. He may be right about all of the things that he said. He may be absolutely right about the future of this offense. I got an article coming out later today. If you believe in the Mariners offense for this year, really, if you believe in the Mariners for this year, there's like 5 things you've got to really commit to believing in. I said it a little bit yesterday. I wrote about it last night. It'll be up shortly. You've got to believe in the rotation, staying healthy and being dominant again, right? You've got to believe that these guys are going to bounce back. JP and Jorge and Garver, et cetera, and Julio all have to bounce back, by the way, without anybody else going in the tank. Hard to do. You've got to, at the center of it all, maybe this should even be number 1. You have to believe in the power of Dan and Edgar and what happened the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season rather than what's been happening for the previous 3 years. You have to believe that this same argument we've made over and over again. Wow, it's 5 weeks of a season at the beginning of the year. It doesn't mean anything. We're only at May 15th. We can't possibly. I've said this literally a gazillion times. I'm not going to judge this team based on the first 5-6 weeks of the season. It's a 6-month season. How then can you judge them based on the last 5 or 6 weeks? It doesn't make any sense. So that one is going to be really hard for me. Flexibility, I said this before, you don't have a lot of veterans, so maybe there's ways you can, eliminate guys that aren't playing well early by optioning them to the minors rather than sticking with them. And you or at least should, still have some dry powder to add early in this season through the trade deadline if you need to or want to. You've got the prospects you didn't trade, you've got pitching you didn't trade, and you should have a little bit of money that you didn't spend. So all of those things should allow you to continue to build and fill whatever holes develop, especially if other teams fall off. You got to believe all of those things if you're going to believe that the Mariners are going to be better in 2025 than 2024, where they fell off by 4 games from the year before that and 6 from the year before that. Right? Remember, they got to get to at least 90, you've got to think. That's got to be like your minimum. Well, to get to 90, you got to win 6 more games than you did last year. Not like you got to be as good as you were last year. You got to win 6 more. So when Jerry talks, he's giving you some real optimism. Here's some of his optimism right here.
We had a few guys last year who came out and didn't have their best season and or got off to slow starts. We added Victor Robles in midseason. We added Randy Arozarena at the trade deadline. We get a full season from what we hope is a resurgent J.P. Crawford. And we get perhaps the second half of Julio rather than the first.
Okay, so the first part of that, I actually buy. I'm going to tell you what. The first part of that, I'm with Jerry. You get a full season of Arozarena and Robles. Those guys made a difference last year. They really did. The offense was better after they added those guys. And I believe that had more to do with what happened in the last 5 or 6 weeks than anything else. But you added them at the deadline. When you did it, you added them for not just last year, but for this year. And I think that is part of this season's off-season plan, is that you already fixed left field. Right, that was a hole. You fixed it at the deadline, and so the fact that it happened then is supposed to now. I don't necessarily hold that against Jerry. So yeah, you get a full season of those guys, and hopefully, yes, you get more of J.P. Crawford and you get second half Julio. That would be great. What if Cal Raleigh has a bad year? Wouldn't that offset whatever you get from one of those guys? What if Luke Raley drops his OPS by 150 points, a guy you're counting on to play first or the outfield nearly every day? Like, those things aren't impossible. Quite frankly, they're just as likely as the other guys bouncing back. Like, people have bad years all the time. We talk about this to explain why Polanco had a bad year, why Julio had a bad first half, why JP was down. Well, what if Arozarena has an awful year? What if in some crazy cockamamie world, Victor Robles isn't the player he was for 3 months last year and is somewhat closer to the guy he'd been for the entirety of his career before that? That wouldn't, blow me away, would it? Yeah, I appreciate the optimism, and you should be hopeful this time of year. And there are some reasons to be hopeful for this Mariner team. It's not necessarily the disaster that it's always being painted to be. There are some good things about this team. There really are. But when you put it that way and you start trying to sell that the team is better than we think and the offense has been better than we think, and we'll go over that sound here in a few minutes, you're not giving the full picture. And I think today's fan is too smart to only give them part of the picture. They're too savvy. They have too much information at their fingertips. And Jerry might argue, yeah, they have too much information at their fingertips. They don't know how to synthesize it. He might be right. But it's really hard to sell them on just the positive parts when they're perfectly capable of finding the negatives as well. That's not the cut that's making the most news today. We'll play that one for you next, and everything you need to know. It's Brock and Salk, Sales Sports on 710.
Blue 88 on Brock and Salk.
Rule changes in the NFL. What should we expect?
Every day at 7:45.
Roger Goodell is going to finally lose the chain gang. And one of the things that the USFL that I have been around has actually used and employed the last couple years is Hawkeye technology. There's going to be no more of this bring the chains out. Is it an inch short? Is it 6 inch? Nope. You will see that technology employed next year. I strongly believe that.
Blue 88 answering 3 football questions as only Brock Heward can.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. I mean, mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Right now, get up to a $15 gift card after rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
We could all use more time. Amazon Business offers smart business buying solutions so you can spend more time growing your business and less time doing the admin. I can see why they call it smart. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze. La 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 la.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. We help all types of injury victims like Sean, who was rear-ended in a car accident.
They're just easy to work with. They're fast. I like the fact that he had military service. I can see a lot of Marine in Rob. He's very in charge, really gets things done. But I didn't have to do anything. He offered me a settlement, had a number in my head, was nearly double that. I would refer absolutely anybody to Rob.
If you've been injured, call us at 253-WARRIOR. Warrior Injury Law. Battle tested.
Eddie's!
This ESPN Radio Black History Month moment is brought to you by National University.
Considered one of the best defensive players in NBA history, Bill Russell led the Boston Celtics to 11 championships and won 5 MVPs. In 1966, he became the first black coach in NBA history when he became the Celtics player coach. He led Boston to back-to-back titles in 1968 and 69. He was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 1975.
Built for the dreamers and doers and history makers. Start your journey at nu.edu.
Welcome to TGL presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp and it's electric. How is it sharp? How is it electric? Good questions. Try this on for size. 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime, forcing, playoffs on the line, golf. With 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour. Split into 6 teams. Atlanta, Boston, Jupiter, LA, New York, and the Bay. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. Tune in every week for TGL matches, only on ESPN. Keep up. It's golf.
The Hot Stove Show. Stay up to date on the Mariners offseason with Aaron Goldsmith, Gary Hill, and Shannon Dreyer.
Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. leading up to spring training. The Big Seattle Boat Show is happening now through February 8th.
The boat show, the Big Seattle Boat Show.
It's the West Coast's biggest boat show with big selection, big discounts, and big fun for everyone. The Big Seattle Boat Show. It's a big deal.
The boat show, the boat show. You gotta cruise the boat show. You won't believe how cool it is.
So bring your family. Presented by Sundance Yachts and Port of Seattle. Details and discount tickets at SeattleBoatShow.com.
If you're looking for a new Mazda, go see our friends at Mazda of Everett. With over 790 new Mazdas in stock at 11409 Highway 99 in Everett, they have something for every budget and credit type. Save up to $3,970 on new Mazda CX-5s. Come meet the team and see why they've been Washington's largest Mazda dealer since 2015. Exceptional service and always their lowest prices. Visit in-store or online at MazdaofEverett.com today.
Hey, Brock Hewitt here for my friends at PCF Group, or People Come First Construction Group, and that's exactly what they did when we made the call a couple years ago. We wanted to redo our outdoor space, wanted to add a deck, an outdoor living, a television and a kitchen. And PCF Group, wow, they more than delivered. And if you're interested in building a stunning outdoor area like we did, I cannot recommend them enough. Reach out before the good weather arrives, and their schedule, well, it's going to fill up. So whether you're looking for a complete outdoor living space or a very specific project like an underdeck ceiling, deck, patio cover, railings, PCF has you covered. Design now and pay later. In fact, get 12 months, no interest and no payments, and up to $6,000 off and a $1,000 Amazon gift card. Request that complimentary design and estimate consultation today at 206-992-0364, 206-992-0364, or project ideas, explore photos at pcfgroup.com, pcfgroup.com.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
Well, Jerry Dipoto is happy with the offseason. At least that's essentially what he said to the media yesterday.
The positive trend that developed over the season's final 6 weeks, the way we saw our team come together, I think especially notable was the uptick we saw in our offense. And the group generally played well together. And one of our points going into this offseason, and I know I made it sitting in the dugout and final series there, was that we didn't anticipate a great deal of movement around the team. And, as we are now about a week away from headed to spring training, I'd say that probably played out to be spot on, much to, I think, the dismay of a few. But we have a good team.
I think it's the dismay of more than a few. I think dismay of more than a few. It's virtually every national writer that anyone on this station has talked to. It's every host that I can think of in this city. It's every fan I've talked to. I don't have the full polling data, so maybe Jerry's right. Maybe the majority are happy about what the Mariners did this offseason. But I think trying to convince the world that only a few people aren't happy about the way this offseason went is a major exercise in futility. And if I'm Jerry, I would put a period before making that statement rather than a comma. You're saying too much. And I'm sorry that he feels that way. I'm sorry that he feels the world is against him or whatever he's trying to insinuate when he says the few versus the many. But it's more than a few, man. It's more than a few. And you might have a good team. Why wouldn't you want it to be an even better team? The Dodgers have a good team. They won the World Series. They made every effort this offseason to get as much better as possible as they could. They went out and got Roki Sasaki to add to the 12 other great pitchers they already have.
Blake Snell.
I'm sorry. That argument isn't going to carry a lot of weight. And nor is this one.
Obviously, we chose to hold on to Louis and the other 4 starting pitchers. And as we expected when the offseason began, pretty quiet offseason. And I think that's reflective of a team that didn't have a whole lot of holes to fill. And, we feel great about our farm system. We feel great about the stability in our team. And we feel like our offense doesn't get enough credit for the things that they do well. Dan and Edgar, once they jumped on board in August, I think there was a different vibe around our team, with few exceptions. I think just about anything that we could hope to have achieved over the last, let's call it 6 weeks of the season, from uptick in play on the field to improved offense to, just to winning games. We were as good as anybody in the league for that time. We're hoping that we can take that and ride that momentum into 2025.
Well, he also going on to say that over the last 3 years, they're top 10 in a bunch of offensive categories. And I just, the counterbalance of the two doesn't work for me. Either you've been a good offense for the last 3 years and there wasn't a need to fire your manager and 2 hitting coaches last year, or you haven't been, which is why you did that. And now things have changed. And now you're looking at a 6-week sample size. I don't understand how you can throw both out there within the same breath. That doesn't make sense to me, and it just doesn't feel like there's a cohesive thought on what they're doing offensively. Good news, did say Matt Brash could be ready by late April, which is a lot earlier than Dan Wilson had told Wyman and Bob all of a week ago. Gregory Santos already in Arizona, ready to go on time, which is awesome. Troy Taylor going to miss some time with a strained lat.
Here's the second thing you need
get
to
ready
know.
for the next nauseating Salk take that you're going to hear for the next couple of weeks. Because if you believe, as many of you have told me, that Geno Smith can win a Super Bowl, then you better believe the Seahawks should 100% go hard after Myles Garrett, who says he wants out of Cleveland. If you think you've got a quarterback that's capable of winning a Super Bowl, you should want Myles Garrett here. And you should be willing to have a conversation about giving up quite a bit in order to get him. Sure, the Browns say they're not going to trade him, but so what? They have to say they're not going to trade him. That's how they keep whatever leverage they can possibly muster. But if you want to win with Geno, you need to be dominant somewhere. The defense would be a great place to start, and obviously Myles Garrett would play a huge role in making a dominant defense. As for Cooper Kupp, probably a bit more challenging. I love the player. Maybe there's a good deal where he comes in to essentially replace Tyler Lockett, but the injuries combined with not wanting to invest more in that position would probably make it a tough sell for me.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
Finally, UW offense coordinator Brennan Carroll headed to Vegas to join his dad as the O-line coach for the Raiders. Filling in the gap, Jedd Fisch promoted Jimmy Doherty to offensive coordinator. Michael Switzer bumps up to offensive line coach. Remember, Ryan Walters is the new defensive coordinator. Kraken will get back to it tonight. They've got Detroit at home at Climate Pledge Arena. That's everything you need to know. And we do a quarter past every hour here on the Brock and Salk show. Gosh, there's really a lot to go through with this presser from yesterday. And we will continue to over the course of the morning. I'm honestly going to do my best to just be I'm trying to be as down the middle as I can. I'm not here. I know what people want, just ranting and raving. I don't want to do that. Because I do think, honestly, that there are some reasons for hope this year. I don't want to, pin myself into the Mariners are going to stink bucket, because they might not. They still have incredible pitching. There is absolutely the opportunity for some of these guys to have bounce-back years. A lot of what Jerry says isn't rubbish. But there's 3, 4, 5 comments in there that are just smack me in the head. It's hard for me to get past them. So I do want to be critical of the things that I think are wrong and or hypocritical. And I do want to give credence to the things that I think are right. I know that doesn't necessarily fit with mob mentality or the view that I'm, bought and paid for by the team. But let's just try to play it down the middle. Let's just go through these comments. Some of them have some validity, and some of them sound like a sell job. So let's go through both of those things and just be straight up honest about it. We'll do it over the course of the morning. Stick around. A lot more on that to come after some Jedd Fisch. Husky fans, stick around. He's next on Brock and Salk.
Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Quarterbacks in the NFC. Geno is not on the list for either of us. I know that there are people listening that would have Geno on the list, and I know that there are listening that absolutely would not. Is it a problem that he's not?
I don't think it's a problem because I think that he can be in the top 5. I think in 2025, he might be in the top 5 if certain things happen. He just cuts down on the turnovers, and the offensive line does a better job of protecting him and contributing to him not having to force the ball and turn the football over.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Have you considered surgery or even joint replacement? Hey, it's Dave Wyman, and before you make that decision, see Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Why? Because he gives it to you straight. Dr. Wagner said my right knee needs replacement, and I appreciate his honesty and expertise. My left knee is fine right now, but the minute it isn't, I'm heading to Dr. Wagner for his expert opinion. I want to avoid another surgery, and I've heard so many patients rave about results from their 90-minute outpatient stem cell procedure with Dr. Wagner. He's a board-certified Seattle physician with over 30 years experience and has performed more than 20,000 stem cell procedures using a person's own stem cells to regenerate cartilage in their own joints. People with severe osteoarthritis, even bone on bone, are back doing what they enjoy without pain and without surgery. Whether it's a shoulder, hip, elbow, ankle, wrist, or knee, before choosing surgery, see Dr. Mark Wagner first. Go to drmarkwagnermd.com.
The Seattle Golf Show, Friday, February 7th and Saturday the 8th at the Seattle Convention Center has 100 exhibits. Buy tickets online and get up to 4 rounds of golf and get free balls while they last at the door. Shop the huge Putts Golf Sale. Kids under 12 are free. VIP tickets at SeattleGolfShow.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at EmeraldQueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Are you constantly dealing with a runny nose, allergies, congestion, sinusitis, or postnasal drip? Hey, it's Dr. Ryan Stern of the Stern Sinus Center. Ryan Air is a simple, non-invasive procedure that significantly reduces your postnasal drip and stuffiness. We're proud this year the Stern Sinus Center was just named a nationwide center of excellence. We're also excited to welcome another allergy surgeon and ear surgeon to our practice. Schedule your appointment in Auburn or Federal Way or go to sternsinus.com.
Some things you wouldn't mind being stuck with, like a huge inheritance. But a phone that has to be plugged in just right so it charges is not one of those things. Switch to Verizon and we'll pay off your old phone up to $800 via prepaid MasterCard for a new one on us. Just trade in any phone from our top brands with select unlimited plans. $829.99 purchase with new smartphone line on select unlimited plans. Minimum $90 per month with auto pay plus taxes and fees for 36 months required. Place $830 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Trade-in terms apply. Payoff phone requires smartphone purchase and port-in with new smartphone line on select plan. Must provide most recent bill showing payoff amount of eligible phone. Additional terms apply.
With Progressive customer service, there are lots of ways to connect with us, so you never have to miss a second of your favorite sport. Because you'd much rather watch a ball go through a net 124 times in 48 minutes when you don't really have to pay attention until the last 2, and then somehow those 2 minutes will take an hour. You don't want to miss all that. Luckily, you can chat with Progressive on our app, online, or over the phone without missing a single one of those times the ball goes through the metal circle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at station during regular business hours. The noon hour of the Bump and Stacy Show is powered every day by the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law Personal Injury Lawyers. Go to pendergastlaw.com.
Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. Dozens of full replacements with expert craftsmanship and unbeatable warranties, we've been building roofs you can trust for over 5 decades. It's more than just a job, it's our promise to you. Protect your investment with a free Golden Pledge warranty on all GAF roof replacements over $15,000. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
You have the right to take your vehicle to any repair facility, not just where your insurance company tells you to go. Accurate Auto Body has been family owned and operated since 1994, and they work for you, not your insurance company. With over 25 years of auto repair work, they'll exceed your expectations.
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit. Accurate Auto Body.
At Accurate Auto Body, all their work is performed by certified technicians, only using OEM parts to guarantee the safety of you and your family. For the best in auto body collision repair and customer service, give them a call at 425-883-2450 or AccurateAutoBodyWA.com. Your insurance company may not love them, but you will, because
we meet by accident, fixing every last bit. Accurate Auto Body.
Start the year fresh with Washington Energy's New Year, New Home Sales event. Upgrade and save 15% on energy-efficient Bryant heating systems for your home. Keep cozy and safe this winter storm season with 15% off Honeywell whole home generators. Prepare for spring with 15% off beautiful Anderson windows and reliable Simonton doors. All on sale now for a limited time. It's the New Year, New Home Sales event with Washington Energy Services, bringing good energy to your home.
Brock and Salk's Rewind is presented by Toyota of Kirkland.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Well, I wouldn't shut up the last couple weeks about Howie Roseman and what
Howie Roseman this,
I know.
Howie Roseman that, Howie's the greatest this,
Well,
Howie's
he might
the
be.
greatest that.
He might be the greatest of all of those things. And what he's done in Philadelphia is pretty cool. And every time I mention his name, Brock, what do you say? Well, you know, he was Jedd Fisch's roommate in college.
Taught him everything he knows.
So we better, if we can't get Howie on this week because he's a little busy getting ready for the Super Bowl, we better at least have his college roommate on. And so Husky head coach Jedd Fisch taking a few minutes with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are we doing, guys?
Did you know Howie had this in him, Jed? Did you know he was going to be the greatest in the history of mankind to ever put together teams in Salk's estimation?
I did not know that. You guys should have called me. I would have got him on the phone. You know, we could have done that. We could have had the interview with him. I didn't realize this is the Howie Roseman show.
It is, yeah.
We'll get to Mr. Walters and DeMond and the portal. We'll get to all sorts of fun stuff.
But we got to start with that. I mean, the guy's in the Super Bowl. Tell me what it was like. You were roommates. What was that?
He was great. Howie is. We were fraternity brothers. We were college roommates. We lived together off campus. We became we're very good friends. He's one of my best friends, and talk to him almost very, very regularly throughout the season, throughout the off season. Never worked with him a couple times almost, but you know, it was he's really, really good at what he does, and he has started from the ground up, man. Yeah. It was there was no easy path. There was no you know, he didn't he worked his way from being a law student and getting his law degree at Fordham to taking a train every day from New York City to Philly to being able to start as an intern with Joe Banner for like $250 a week to now really, in my opinion and most people's opinion, being one of the top 1, 2, 3 general managers in all of pro football. And he runs the entire organization and top to bottom, and he just phenomenally does it with not just choosing players, but managing the salary cap, assisting with the decision-making in every facet from coaches to medical to equipment, and he certainly has continued to produce great success.
Is there one part of his philosophy that you think is the most important thing or the most important indicator for his success?
Yeah, I mean, he has a very, very, very strong philosophy about building his team through the trenches. And if you look at his drafts, if you look at what, you know, stands out, you look at his defensive line, you look at his offensive line, I'd be hard-pressed to argue that over the course of a 15-year span, he didn't have probably, or 20-year span, one of, if the best offensive line in all of pro football. They've always been a team that knows how to run the football. And then his commitment to the defensive line, I think they're number 1 or 2 in rush defense. I think they're top 5 in rush offense. Vic Fangio, he was my first boss. I do want to say that I get a little bit of credit for connecting the two of them, we'll say. And Vic is, you know, those two guys, I would say they mean as much to me in this sport as anybody. And the fact that this is a chance for Vic, who's been a NFL defensive coordinator for close to 35 years at different places, he has not won a Super Bowl. So I'm really hopeful that this is the year that Howie gets his second and Vic gets his first.
So if I had sound back at the Fiji House or the Lambda Chi, I don't know what fraternity you were in down.
The Tap House, Brock. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. If I'd have listened way back when you guys were on the porch having a beer and said, yeah, we knew this was going to be our paths. I knew I was going to be a college head coach and multiple stops and go between the NFL as a coordinator and a college head coach. And you know, Howie knew that he was going to be an NFL. Like, did you guys know that then when you were 18, 19, 20 years old?
We knew it, Brock, but no one else did. We were convinced of it, and everybody laughed at us through the and to be honest with you, we laughed at each other about it as well. There was definitely that mentality from college that Howie had zero aspirations in life outside of saying that I am going to be the general manager of an NFL team. He couldn't, in his mind, there was no career he was going to have. He was going to go to law school to become great in the salary cap and understand contracts. He was going to go intern because he was going to pick players. There was no question in his mind he was going to be a GM of an NFL team. And, of course, as a college buddy, there was no more fun thing to make fun of somebody about, right, than to tell me exactly how that's going to happen. In the same conversation or in the same vein, I would make a million comments about what I was going to do. And, I'm going to go work for Steve Spurrier, and then I'm going to go coach in the NFL, and then I'm going to go be a head coach in college football and, the whole deal. One day be a head coach in the NFL. And there was no one that could rip me more and laugh at me more than Howie would. And, obviously he was going to be the GM, but I had no chance, or I was going to be the head coach and he had no chance. And we were both very fortunate that our dreams became reality.
You just get randomly paired together?
We were fraternity brothers.
Okay. So you chose each
paired
other as
together.
roommates.
Mm-hmm.
We chose each other as roommates.
Okay,
we got randomly paired to each other, as in I did not know him in high school. He was a year older than I am. So when I was pledging the fraternity, he was one of the sophomore brothers. And then we became really good friends throughout that year. And then there was a opportunity to live together, and we chose to do that.
Sobriety, I think, was a big part of that too, right? In your dorm room, obviously.
I've never had a drink with Howie.
Right,
Never
of
had
course
one.
not. Of course, I mean,
don't believe that. Do not believe that statement.
Just not that we want to focus the whole thing here on this, but just as we've sort of one of the Seahawks conversations we've had this year, and I'll just jump in real quick. A couple of breaking pieces of news just a few moments ago. The Seahawks are hiring John Benton to be their O-line coach and Andrew Janocko to be their quarterback coach, both guys that had been with Kubiak in New Orleans. So we'll get back to that here in a bit. But that's one of these conversations we've had is Ryan Grubb coming from college to the pros last year, and then the Seahawks choosing to go really with somebody that's been almost exclusively in the NFL. How big a difference is it? You've really experienced both sides of this. How big a difference is it coordinating and calling plays and being around NFL offenses versus college offenses?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that a lot of times you would see guys that have never been in pro football without any experience in pro football. It's a challenge because there are a lot of different aspects of the game. And then I would say that there's also a great challenge of guys that just come from pro football into college football without any experiences there. That's a challenge as well. The hash marks are different. One of the things that you appreciate the most about pro football is that usually the defenses are where they're supposed to be. Like if you were to say, where does this guy line up in this coverage, you would say he's going to drop to this area of the field. In college football, there are a lot more mistakes, and there's also a lot more freedoms, and there's also a lot more scheme, and a lot more people are willing to do things outside of the traditional. There's probably a little more conservatism in pro football in terms of play calling and in terms of what you're on offense and defense. And there's really only about 3 or 4 trees in pro football, right, on both sides of the ball. There's probably 8 or 9 offensive coaches in pro football that are running the Shanahan tree, McVay tree, whatever you want to look at it as. There's probably 8 or 9 that are running the Reed tree, and then there's about 6 with the Kubiak tree. With the Sean Payton tree. So it kind of works that way, both sides of the ball. I'd say in college football, there's 132 jobs. There's a ton of different scheme. There's a ton of different plays. There's a ton of different willingness to do things. So it is a transition for sure, going from one to the other, and it takes time. It takes time, and unfortunately we don't like to give time, but it takes time to get your team the way you want it.
13 months later, speaking of time, 13 months later, where is your program different in that time than when you inherited it, Jedd?
Well, we're better. We're better because we've now been together for a longer period of time, and we know each other. We have a better feel for what we're trying to get accomplished. We have 44 new players on the team that was not a part of the team for the Sun Bowl. So we have, only 41 scholarship players returning from last year. And of those 41, 26 of them weren't on the team 2 years ago. So when you look at our team, we have close to 70 of our 85 players now have only played for our staff. And, I think we're at a point now that with the way we like to do things and the scheme offensively and defensively that we're going to, run, I think experience in that regard will help us. I think there'll be less mixed messaging in regards to, well, this is the way we did it this year, or this is the way we did it with Coach Lake, or this is the way we did it with Coach DeBoer. We're now really at a place where this is how we do it, and this is what we're going to do. So I think we'll be better in that regard. Our talent has improved. I think Damon Williams, the opportunity to get him in the 12 games last year, 13 games last year, and start 2 of them will pay huge dividends in the future. Bringing Jonah Coleman back, Denzel Boston back, bringing back all of our really eligible linemen back, having Priceock and Sicario as our corners, bringing back Estina at safety. I think bringing back the whole D-line and hopefully getting them all healthy, that will give us a great opportunity to be a better team this year.
It's interesting you say, it's going to help us for the future and talking about Damon Williams. Do you have to, and not that I disagree at all, obviously. I mean, it seems like it would help him a ton. Do you have to always be worried that anything you're doing to help with the future may end up helping someone else rather than you in just this new version of college football?
Sure, I guess. I've seen quotes about not having spring games and quotes about, not wanting people to see our players. I don't know. I think our job is to develop these kids and make them better football players and develop our team and do the best we can to help us win in the future and the present and the future. And I felt I had a responsibility to the University of Washington and Seattle. And, they pay me a lot of money and they pay our coaches a lot of money to make sure we put a great product out there. And I felt that we were going to be in a position in 2025 and 2026 to have elite quarterback, elite skill, and people want to play with that. And I didn't feel like he was going to become that guy if I just kept him hidden and then hope that I could just spring him, the start of next year, because then I think we would have been a year behind again. So, our job is to just do the best we can for the program and hope that our relationships, the way we coach, the way we teach, the commitments we can make, will keep guys around here. But, yeah, we need all the support we can get to do that as well.
We're kind of getting into that season, and Jedd Fisch here with us for a couple more minutes. Kind of getting into that season where we're in projection mode, and be it in college football, watching these players in the spring and all these new pieces, and the NFL leading up to the draft, and trying to project who these guys are, and certainly quarterbacks always a big conversation. Who is Damon Williams? When you worked with him here for a year and his skill set, and you've been around so many, Jedd, over the decades, projecting him, who could he be?
It's the biggest challenge because there's always immediate stereotypes that you would make. You would say, a 5'10", 5'11" quarterback that runs sub 4.4, that's got a great arm. I think we can all, oh, wow, Kyler Murray. He was picked number 1 overall. We'll roll with that one. Or the fact that we're all watching what an incredible job Jaden Daniels did this past year and be like, wow, Jaden has a lot of those same skills that Damon has a lot of the same skills that Jaden has. All of that would be fantastic. I've told Damon, just be the best version of you, man. If you start living in the world of comparison, we'll let others do that. We'll let scouts do that. We'll let you guys do that. And from the media to the scouts to the NFL and make those projections and predictions. I just think it's really, for us, we're going to spend a lot of time watching the Ravens and a lot of time watching the Cardinals and a lot of time watching the Redskins and a lot of time watching the Buffalo Bills and see how those teams are using their quarterbacks' legs and arms in the same manner and what they're doing. And we're going to use our quarterback's legs and arm and see how we can, move the ball even better than we did in the final game he played, which was a pretty good showing.
How big a difference is it to have a mobile quarterback in 2025?
It's enormous. The athletes on the defensive line have gotten better and better and better and better. the amount of blitz, the amount of pressures, they're all huge, and you've got to be able to get out of it, get out of the way, and go make plays with your feet, and to be able to get a first down with your feet is going to make a huge difference, as we saw in the championships and in the CFP this year.
Last thing for me, Jed, kind of living in both these worlds, college football and the NFL world, we see obviously Bill Belichick go to the college game. We see Chip Kelly leave the college game to get paid $6 million to go coordinate for Pete down there in Vegas. Do you think we're going to continue to see that back and forth a little bit between the NFL and the college and this whole crazy transactional portal world that we live in?
Yeah, I do. I mean, Jeff Hafley did it a couple years ago when he left Boston College as the head coach to go be the Packers DC. Chip doing it, obviously. I think, until there's more guardrails, let's call it, in regards to having some balance, we're going to see that. I think Chip has wanted to coach in the NFL the last few years again as a coordinator, so that doesn't overly surprise me. But, I think that's something we need to be aware of in college football. We don't want to lose great coaches, and we got to make sure that we continue to make this a great environment for coaches to stay in.
Love it.
Coach, we appreciate it. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us, and thank you for answering questions about your college roommate.
Roseman Fan Club Show 101. Thank you.
I'm glad no one's asking me questions about my college roommates. I don't know that I'd have nearly as many nice things to say as you did. So, hey, we appreciate it. Are you going to the Super Bowl? Did he get you a ticket, or what happens?
I'm not. I went to the last one. I went to the last Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. Jeez. That was in Arizona when I was living in Arizona. I don't need to go to the one in New Orleans.
No. Okay.
I'm gonna watch it and cheer for the Eagles, but more importantly, I'm gonna cheer for the Dogs, man. And we're gonna see what type of spring we can have, and we're gonna attack this thing as best we can.
Love it, Coach. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. We'll talk again.
Thanks, guys. All right, have a good one.
There was Jedd Fisch, head coach of the Huskies, who joined us yesterday, and a big thanks to him. It is funny, the idea, like when you get paired, it would have been funnier to me if they'd paired together. Obviously, choosing to live with your friends, like, you're gonna have some stuff in common, but getting paired with somebody is much more entertaining.
Wasn't I think I remember when Pete Carroll did his podcast with Steve Kerr during COVID. I think we found out that him and Scott Boras were college roommates.
Yes, there is something to that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was it was like afterwards or something, but there is, you're right. There is some story.
They went to college together, yeah.
About that. And you're like, wait, what? Or maybe they lived in the same hall. Like, yes, there was definitely something to that relationship as well. I got a funny story. My college, you know what? I don't think I can tell the story. It's not a bad story, but as I'm thinking through the world we live in, I'm like, I don't even think I can tell the story, even though it's pretty harmless. But I'm just gonna self-edit here, Maura. Just based on the conversation that we were just having during our last break, just gonna self-edit and just not go through all of that. There's more than enough to talk about today. This stuff with the Mariners and Jerry, it just. I mean, I can just keep playing you sound from it. There's so much on here that just really, really, kind of gets under my skin. And it's, there are there's a lot of stuff that Jerry says that I think there's some like big parts that are true. And then there's moments at the end where you're just like, yeah, but you just don't need to go there. Here he is talking about first base.
We went into the offseason with what we thought were needs at first base, second base, third base. And I'd mentioned before, we viewed first base as a potential, for a platoon with Luke Raley playing, the bigger role and, perhaps looking there for someone who could support him from the right side on what I would call, the short end of a platoon at first base, or do something more permanent if the opportunity presented itself.
Didn't the opportunity present itself? Weren't there like 7 permanent first basemen? Like, I guess these are the things I'm talking about, where it's like, okay, yeah, like a platoon at first base is not like an unacceptable option. But when you say like, yeah, this was sort of what our plan was, but we were open if something was out there, if there had maybe been a first baseman who could handle it every day. Well, I mean, Pete Alonso, Christian Walker, Bo Naylor, like, those are just 3. There have been like 7. Like, who did you want?
Josh Naylor could have happened.
Josh Naylor. Excuse, did I say Bo? Josh, excuse me.
I think we know why the other two couldn't happen.
Maybe, but like, okay, like, don't sit here and blow smoke. Don't tell me there weren't any potential first base options. There were. You decide, I mean, even Justin Turner, Carlos Santana.
Right.
You ultimately decided on Donovan Solano because of, and by the way, there's some merit to Donovan Solano. And he goes on to talk about Solano. It's not like he ignored it, but like, okay, just focus on that. You know what? We really liked Donovan Solano. We really liked what he was going to do for X, Y, and Z, which is why this is what we wanted to do in the offseason, is go get a guy like him. Okay, fine. Don't tell me you couldn't possibly find somebody out there to handle the job full time. Pete Alonso's literally still out there. There's literally a guy right now who hits 40 home runs a year who could do the job. What do you mean? Like, if what you wanted was a platoon there with Donovan Solano so that you could do X, Y, and Z elsewhere, fine. There's literally a guy right now who could do the job full time if that's what you wanted. So don't tell me that's what you wanted. You couldn't find it. He's literally there. He's literally on the market. Literally right now, you could sign him. Literally now. Today. You don't have to wait. You can just call him and sign him. We'll get back to this at 7:30. I'm gonna try. I said I was gonna try really hard to just keep this by the book and stay pretty even keeled on this. I will change gears for a few minutes. We'll come back to this at 7:30. I promise. But the more I think about what happened yesterday with Myles Garrett, the more I think this is a very simple thing and should really determine how you feel as a Seahawks fan. It's next on Brock and Salk.
When you're running the hurry up and don't have time for your favorite Seattle sports shows, listen to the podcast on demand. How about that? Unbelievable. Who would have thought? Every hour, every interview, every look behind the scenes.
He is your new Seahawks head coach, Mike McDonald.
We want to play a certain way, and you're just going to chisel away at it every day.
Find us on SeattleSports.com, the Seattle Sports app, or wherever you get podcasts.
All signs continue to point to it being the right hire.
Never miss a minute of Seattle sports, the home of the Seahawks.
We've all been there, sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at emeraldqueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Over 200,000 people were displaced by the recent Southern California fires. The road to recovery is slow, but your generosity is making a difference. G. Scott here. Together with your donations, Safeway and Albertsons were able to raise $5 million to help with food, shelters, and financial assistance. Organizations like the Pasadena Community Foundation, Pasadena Humane Society, Red Cross, and Salvation Army will benefit. My friends at Safeway ask me to thank you for your generosity and support.
Attention buyers, the James D. Murphy Company invites you to a major public online equipment auction happening Thursday, February the 6th through Thursday the 13th in Marysville. It's packed, stacked, and racked with a huge lineup of vehicles, tools, heavy heavy machinery, and much more. Find trucks, trailers, construction equipment, you name it, we got it. Over 1,000 items to be sold to the highest bidder. Featured items include a Super Shark 2022 Kenworth G880 dump truck, a 2013 Komatsu PC-138 US excavator, and a 2009 International Vector truck. A dozer up for grabs? You bet. But wait, there's more. We got over 100 gas-powered excavators, wheel loaders, and skid steers. Preview all this great gear in person at our Marysville location, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday, February the 11th and Wednesday the 12th. Do not miss this first major auction of the new year. Check murphyauction.com for photos and all details. That's murphyauction.com. murphyauction.com.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Some things you wouldn't mind being stuck with, like a huge inheritance. But a phone that has to be plugged in just right so it charges is not one of those things. Switch to Verizon and we'll pay off your old phone up to $800 via prepaid MasterCard for a new one on us. Just trade in any phone from our top brands with select unlimited plans. $829.99 purchase new smartphone line on select unlimited plans. Minimum $90 per month with auto pay plus taxes and fees for 36 months required. Plus $830 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Trade-in terms apply. Payoff phone requires smartphone purchase and port in with new smartphone line on select plan. Must provide most recent bill. Payoff amount of eligible phone. Additional terms apply.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit GetEthos.com. That's GetEthos.com.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
This hour of the Brock and Salk Show is powered by Star Rentals, preferred supplier to the West's best contractors.
Give me a freaking auto! From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
Brock Heward and Matt Marcus. Sorry about Mike.
Heward, not exactly Joe Cap there in the pocket.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Heward and Mike Salk.
Brock, if you believe in Geno Smith, if you believe that Geno Smith is capable of winning a Super Bowl, then by my view, you also have to believe the Seahawks need to go after Myles Garrett.
Oh.
If you are in the,
when did this percolate?
Last night.
Was this in the shower? Was this during nap time? When did this thought percolate?
Post nap time, I would say.
Post-nap, post-hawk, Adner hawk.
Post-nap, pre-dinner. Somewhere in the late afternoon. It just dawns on me, like, if for this whole the whole conversation.
So, like, you're in. You got to be in. If you have Geno, a 35-year-old quarterback, you got to be in.
If you're in, and you're telling me that Geno Smith can win a Super Bowl, and a lot of people tell me that, then you got to say, all right, let's go after Myles Garrett. Go hard. Be great. Right? I mean...
excuse me, how many people tell you that Geno Smith can win a Super Bowl?
All kinds of people. What was it, like 30%, right? Okay. 15, 20%? I don't know. There's a group of people.
All right, fine.
A lot of people out there, Brock, say if you put the right pieces around Geno. I mean, here's Nick Bumgardner yesterday talking about it.
I think that there's still value there. I'm not sure how much longer, but to me, he's still a guy that can throw the ball. I mean, he had turnovers and problems this year, but he also needs help. And I look at Geno. I'm here in Detroit, and I've been able to see the Jared Goff resurrection from up close, and I look at those two guys in similar ways. Geno's older, obviously, but like when his second chance there in Seattle. It was a good situation for him, and obviously he played very well and sort of forced his way through to get that new contract and everything else.
So that's just one, but there's a bunch. We've heard it. If you put the right pieces around Geno, he can win a Super Bowl. Okay, well, this is one of the right pieces. Like, this is a piece that you should be going after full time. Dan Orlovsky wrote yesterday, the 3 players in NFL history with the most sacks in their 20s are, number 1, Reggie White, 108. Number 2, Jared Allen, 105. Number 3, Myles Garrett, 102.5, and he's not 30 yet. He has until December. So,
by the way, how is Jared Allen not in the Hall of Fame? I mean,
bizarre.
It's an absolute.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
So I did a little more research. I decided to add a little bit of research to what Dan had already done, because Dan, he's kind of a half measure guy. He doesn't go all the way.
Right. You didn't have people do.
After Reggie White turned 30, he had 90 more sacks in 8 seasons.
Yeah.
That's insane, by the way. Yeah. But in 8 more seasons, Reggie had 90 more sacks. So picking him up.
When he hit me, it was like a granite rock hit me. There's some guys that hit you and they're kind of jelly and they're kind of soft and they're kind of, they don't really hit you. And I don't think he was even trying to, he certainly was never trying to hurt anybody. He was just a gigantic, and he was like 50 at that point. I mean, he was very old. It was, if not his last year, darn near close to it. But it was just like that. It's like it was a wrecking ball of granite.
It's funny.
So
I can't believe you're old enough to have been hit by Reggie White.
Yeah.
Jared Allen, after he turned 30, only had 31 more sacks in 4 seasons. So not nearly the same level of production, but he was pretty good still during those 4 seasons. It just started to tail off, and then he retired a lot earlier.
I think of him. I don't think of him of those 2 guys, and I understand this is not your project. It's just based on the numbers. I think of him a lot more like Bruce Smith. Up there in Buffalo,
who also player he was.
Yes, who also played, well in his 30s and was a hyper-productive player.
I guess the point I'm making is that for the next 4 years, Myles Garrett should be really good. There's no reason to expect that he's on the verge of falling off because he's going to turn 30 in December. Correct. Like, guys like him should be pretty darn good until about 34 or so if you were to sign trade for and then sign Myles Garrett, I think you're getting a guy who's still going to be an excellent, one of the best players in the league for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons.
Yeah, I was perusing some different sites, The Athletic and some other Pro Football Talk. I am just kind of curious to see from a national perspective who they thought were some fits. I don't think I saw the Seahawks with anybody.
No, because everyone's kind of looking at the top contenders, right? They're looking at Detroit. They're looking at Washington, teams that, nearly made it this year. And yes, those teams should be interested. Washington and Detroit should be interested. Can you imagine if you were to pair him with Aiden Hutchinson? Like, of course Detroit should be interested. What the Seahawks should have, though, is a little bit more to offer the Browns than Detroit or Washington or anyone like that, right? Don't you have better draft picks? Don't you have players that you should be able to part with a little bit more easily than them? So I'm not saying that it's a perfect scenario, and I'm not saying if Myles Garrett were a free agent, he would choose you over Detroit or Washington. But if you believe Geno's a Super Bowl type of contender and you think you can sell that, then you should be going all in on someone like Myles Garrett.
So two things on the other side of this aisle that you would have to consider and think about is, number one, are you prepared to pay him an incredibly lucrative contract, the biggest in the history of this regime?
I would
be bigger than Leonard Williams, because he's got this year and one more year on his deal, and ultimately, right, if he's going to get traded, he's going to want to rip that last year up.
Easy answer, yes.
Okay, so
you're talking about a generational edge rusher, defensive end, plays the rush, like everything. Yes, I'd be willing to do that.
5 years and call it $150 million with $100 million. You're good.
Yes.
Okay, so that's number one. Because obviously when you do that, understand. Well, hold on. Let me ask the other one, and then I'll fire away with both of them. The other one is, okay, well, just trade your 18th pick. Well, what if that is Tyler Booker? What if that is a very good, for the first time, like a bona fide high-level interior player? You've drafted Russell Okung high, stud. You drafted Charles Cross high, stud. Okay, you haven't taken a guard in the first round. You take a guy that, and by the way, in talking to folks, and I'll get this in Blue 88, that dude is an absolute stud. So, and then when you draft in the second and third, you're not going to have quite that stud. You're going to have a John Moffitt. You might fall into a Abe Lucas, but we know second, third, fourth round becomes a little bit more of a crapshoot, certainly at that position of need. So, are you willing to not address the biggest need on this team? No, by the way, if you sign him to a lucrative deal, you can also take off Trey Brown.
Do you have to sign him to a lucrative deal right away? I mean, don't you have a couple of years?
You have this year and one more year left.
Okay. So, so I don't know that you can't sign a guard or something like that. All right, maybe it's not Trey Brown.
Yeah,
what's his last name?
Sure,
Trey
Smith.
Smith. Thank you. I knew it was a common last name.
I think I said Brown.
Thank you, Trey Smith. Yep. So yeah, I still do.
Because none of these things are just done fantasy football wise. None of them are done in a vacuum. Every one of them has implications and ramifications.
Totally understand. But if you really believe that Geno Smith is a guy who can win you a Super Bowl, then you've got to try to make something like this happen.
Because he's that much of a difference maker.
Yeah, isn't he?
Yeah, I think I would warm. As this kind of goes, I think I could really find myself warming up to it. I find myself not jumping in because I just don't know if the Seahawks view themselves in that kind of need.
Well, then they should. They should be having some very different conversations. If you don't view yourself this way, then you guys got to come back to some of the conversations we've had about Geno and DK, et cetera, and wondering whether or not you want to start paying them money.
If Jerry feels like others on the outside, perception-wise, don't really, appreciate the reality of the production they've had, the reality of the production the defense had was very high. The perception of it in the second half of the season was very high.
Yeah.
So I don't think they view this as like, nope, a position of real need.
Well,
the position of real need is surrounding Geno, not with another great defensive player, so they can get a stop and lead the lead again on 3 and outs.
No.
Yes.
You need to be great.
Yes.
You need to be great at the positions that matter most. And obviously edge rusher is one of those positions. And I do think with two young guys, Mafe and Hall, you were in somewhat of a unique position to try to make a deal like this where you could give up one of those guys and draft picks and maybe more in order to try to make something like this work. I think you were in a unique position to create something dominant. What do you look like with Myles Garrett on one side, Boye or Hall on the other, and then Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed, and Byron Murphy up front? Guys, that's how you win Super Bowls with teams like that. That's how you start to turn yourself into the Eagles defense. That's how you do it. You get dominant. You don't be complacent. You don't say, yeah, no, we're good there. You make Mike McDonald, who's a defensive whiz, you give him the best players you could possibly find, and you dominate.
Yep, and the challenge is you got to address significant needs on the other side that aren't even close to good, right? Your defense is good, borderline great. You got some positions that are good. You've got some positions that are very, very bad, and that needs to be addressed. And I think that, unfortunately, probably precludes you from making a move of that nature.
Well, then you've put yourself in a really rough spot, and then don't tell me that you can win a Super Bowl with Geno Smith within the next year or so. It's really hard for me to believe both of those things at the same time, and that's going to be a theme of our day. We'll get back to some of that in 20 minutes with some of the commentary we heard yesterday. It's Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710 and seattlesports.com.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
Voice of your Seattle Mariners, Aaron Goldsmith is with us.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
What's interesting about the 2025 Mariners is that it's less of a story of, I wonder what this guy can be, and more of a story of, we've seen what this guy can be. Can he be that guy again? And for a full season. Like, we've seen them all do it individually at different times. Can they do it in unison now?
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
So I formed Davis Law Group about 30 years ago, and I would get, the same questions from people about what to do in the case of an accident. Do you need a lawyer? To the point where I decided that I would at least write a book which would answer the common questions that I would receive as a lawyer. Once I wrote my first book, it proved to be hugely popular. I decided to write then a series of books in different accident cases so that we could really teach people about their rights, how to protect them, and how to decide on whether they need a lawyer and what lawyer to hire. I've found in my career that having a client that is educated and knowledgeable about their particular type of case helps the client and also usually ends up making the case or the claim more successful. To get your free copy of any of my Washington accident books, visit WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/radio and use code radio for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/radio and use code radio at checkout.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. And right now, you're going to pay for groceries. But you decide what groceries. Just keep in mind you're running out of dishwashing soap. But you decide if you're going to buy that soap. It's just those dishes won't clean themselves, will they? Remember, with Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery when you add a base. Ends Monday. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Take your game day experience to the next level with a Mariners Suite. Suites are perfect for birthdays, anniversaries, client meetings, and that company outing you've been trying to plan for months. Enjoy first-class catering, VIP parking, custom setups for 14 to 400 people, and more, all with the help of a dedicated Mariners rep. Suites start at $125 per person, and season ticket members get 15% off. Reserve now at mariners.com/suites.
Munoz strikes out the side, and the ball game is over.
We are Seattle Sports, the home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Watch your favorite show live at seattlesports.com.
Planning to propose this Valentine's Day? Shane Company has your back. Our easy process to create your dream engagement ring is rock solid. 1, pick your ring setting. 2, choose your center stone. 3, personalize it. With our wide selection of beautiful settings and hand-picked diamonds and gemstones, all at competitive prices, your ring will be as unique as your love story. We'll hand-set your ring in our jeweler's workshop right here in our store and protect it with our free lifetime warranty. Walk in with a dream, walk out with the ring that will take their breath away. Your friend and jeweler.
Coming to the Emerald Queen Casino Event Center, Thursday night, March 13th. It's Keith Sweat. The legendary R&B artist Keith Sweat. Get your tickets while they last at emeraldqueen.com. Don't miss Keith Sweat, March 13th at Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. 21 and older, need gambling help? Call 800-547-6133 or visit emeraldqueen.com.
You know, someone asked me the other day, do you know how many devices the average home has connected to their Wi-Fi network? It's way more than I thought. So I actually went home and counted how many connected devices I own. It's more than a dozen. All to keep me connected to the good stuff. Streaming, gaming, all the interneting, you name it. Xfinity knows that the number of devices we have connected to our internet is growing by the year. And that's why they engineered their gateways to handle hundreds of connected devices. Hundreds, for real. And now through March 18th, get Xfinity Gig Internet for $25 a month for a year with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add an unlimited mobile line. And ask how to get get an eligible free 5G phone with trade-in. Make sure your home Wi-Fi can handle everything you throw at it and then some. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store to switch today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with store and bank account. Taxes and fees extra after promo regular rates apply. Xfinity Internet required. Reduce mobile speeds after use of monthly data included with your data option. Data thresholds and actual internet speeds vary.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
Well, Jerry Dipoto spoke yesterday and sounds quite happy with the offseason his team had. Here's what he said.
The positive trend that developed over the season's final 6 weeks, the way we saw our team come together, I think especially notable was the uptick we saw in our offense. And the group generally played well together. And one of our points going into this offseason, and I know I made it sitting in the dugout in final series there, was that we didn't anticipate a great deal of movement around the team. And, as we are now about a week away from headed to spring training, I'd say that probably played out to be spot on, much to, I think, the dismay of a few. But we have a good team.
Oh, that's good. Now, to be fair, like he did say in that dugout, trading pitching was plan Z, and they have stuck by that. And I know he spoke to some of that, and we'll play more of the sound over the course of the day. I mean, that is fair. That was not going to be like, if you're going to wholesale this thing and take it to the studs and change, the very nature of the team, it would have been moving their great pieces, taking huge swings and huge risks by moving a Kirby and moving a Logan Gilbert and moving a Luis, and they didn't do any of that. And that was plan Z, I think, all the way along. There were just other expectations that both he and Justin said at the winter meetings of finding impact in that infield, impact at first base, impact at second base, and that largely has not happened.
It certainly has not. Some good news, I guess, on Matt Brash. It sounds like the timeline is a lot better than it was a week ago when Dan Wilson suggested that mid-season would be about the right time to see him.
For Brash, our expectation, Matt's had a great rehab, fingers crossed. He's down in Peoria already. He has really not had a roadblock to date. Our current expectation is that he's ready to go when we start rolling in spring training. And our present timeline is that we should get him back somewhere around the third week of April, which is pretty exciting. And obviously that's tentative. It could change. And obviously it wouldn't be at all shocking if he did experience some setback as he starts to ramp up into game mode. But we haven't seen that yet. And I think Matt's very encouraged with how he feels and the like.
Well, certainly that would be great news. Again, that's much better than Dan Wilson said a week ago.
Yeah. I will say this, obviously some of these things going to get nitpicked a little bit. Like when he says some of these names and I think about being down there in less than 3 weeks, Salk, Matt Brash, a great dude.
Yeah.
How many times does Lyle say to us, Polanco, just a great dude. Rayleigh, great dude. Mooney, great dude. Logan, our all-time, there's just, this team is loaded with a lot of great dudes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, Julio? Matt Brash is awesome.
Julio is a superstar, is still, a pretty solid, great dude.
Absolutely.
This team's got a lot of good people. Just needed a little bit more impact this offseason.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
Yeah, I'm going to be on this, I think, for a little while, because if you believe Geno can win a Super Bowl, I do think that the Seahawks should then be going 100% hard after Myles Garrett.
Okay, then hold on one second.
All right.
Fish on! Fish! Okay, so one of our P1s, one of our favorites, Captain Tom, texted me and said, can you remind me of this formula of trading for an older veteran defensive player, where and when that's worked well? We were bragging about Philadelphia last week, right? We looked at Philadelphia. How did Philadelphia do this? How did they do it on their salary cap? How are they paying the quarterback and 2 wide receivers and all these linemen? It's because those defensive guys are drafted. They're young. They're hungry. They're in their first contracts. Just kind of curious to think of, and obviously wasn't great here with Jamal in recent memory, the number of times that you have traded significant capital and paid significantly for an older player, and it's benefited.
Well, I guess I'm just looking at a position. You've never really done it with somebody who plays this well at this position.
I'm talking around the league as well.
Well, I mean, you go back to the guys who we just said are in his ilk, Jared Allen and Reggie White. Reggie White didn't go to Green Bay until he was 32. So 2.5 years older than
that's
Myles
free
Garrett
agent
is right
signing.
now.
That's the biggest in the
but
history of Green Bay.
Same idea, right? I mean, Brock, there aren't that many trades in the NFL. So if you really want to say that, like, okay, well, it hasn't happened. There are barely any trades in the NFL. But, I mean, like, acquiring these guys when you have the opportunity to do so, I'm sorry, I can't put the same weight into Jamal Adams, a safety, as I can into Myles Garrett, a defensive end.
I guess the corner from Jacksonville to the Rams, that helped him win a Super Bowl. That was two
Khalil
firsts.
Mack got traded almost 9 seasons in and
He
then
did.
had 17 sacks for the Chargers in his second year there.
Didn't help him win, unfortunately, and the Chargers are the Chargers. But, yeah. I mean, it's that would be, again, the flip side of this a little bit is, man, I really want to do it like Howie Roseman's done it. I really want to do it like the way Philly's done it. I really want to build the team that way. I really want to build at the trenches and line of scrimmage.
Well, this is that.
You draft those guys. You draft Jalen Carter. You draft Jordan Davis.
But you
draft
don't do that.
Nolan.
But you're not doing that.
Yeah, you drafted
decide
Derek
not to do
Hall.
that
You
because you
drafted Boye
decide what
Mafe.
you
You
want
drafted Byron Murphy.
is a wide receiver and a
It's not true.
quarterback.
It's not true. You drafted Byron Murphy. You drafted Derek Hall. You drafted Boye Mafe. You drafted
Those are second-round
guys.
picks. We're not talking about losing those.
I'm sorry. Did they draft Byron Murphy last year?
That was one.
Okay.
The year after they drafted
Did
a
they pay
corner and a
the-
wide receiver.
Did they trade for and then pay Leonard Williams?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, didn't you just say we shouldn't be trading for and paying guys?
Multiple first-round picks.
Well, do another one. Make it happen.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
Cooper Kupp, by the way, also apparently is going to be available. I can't imagine that's something you would want to do.
Nope. He and Tyler Lockett are so similar. I tweeted that last night when that news came out, and he posted his remarks. Like him and Tyler, to me, just third-round guys. Cooper, third-rounder, because I didn't think he was fast enough. Tyler, third-rounder, didn't think he was big enough. But both of them just unbelievably productive players on, off the field, great teammates, maximized every bit of them. And I did see some people say, wow, bring him home, Eastern Washington. Davis High School, bring him home.
I can't imagine spending those resources on a guy that unfortunately has just had some injury
Don't think
issues.
he's going to get traded. Will probably get released. And then a Buffalo or, there's going to be a fit for him somewhere. Hard to imagine here.
All right, that's everything you need to know. I enjoy these two texts back to back. Brock is correct. Shut up, Salk. Why are you spewing this? Hawks have many holes. Can't afford this. He's a much better fit on the Commanders and others. And then the next text says, the very next one.
Very
Sorry,
next,
Brock.
206.
But Salk's right. Myles Garrett is way different. He's one of the best in the NFL on the defensive line. He's a fit on any team.
Don't you just love sports
I
for
do.
this very reason? I just love it.
I do love it.
I love it so much more than perimenopause. So much more.
Will we get the same level of split texts as we start to go through what Jerry Dipoto had to say yesterday?
Interesting.
We'll find out next on Brock and Salk.
Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Best quarterbacks in the NFC. Geno is not on the list for either of us. I know that there are people listening that would have Geno on the list, and I know that there are some listening that absolutely would not. Is it a problem that he's not?
I don't think it's a problem because I think that he can be in the top 5. I think in 2025, he might be in the top 5 if certain things happen. He just cuts down on the turnovers, and the offensive line does a better job of protecting him and contributing to him not having to force the ball and turn the football over.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, you guys looking for a fun night out this weekend? Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is the perfect spot to go unwind. I really am pumped for the new hotel to open. I think it's going to be great. They've done just such class, the way they handle everything there. There's going to be new restaurants, lots of new space, and, of course, just a sweet hotel with a spa and everything else. Check out Vista Prime Steak and Seafood this weekend or Falls Buffet. Get all your details at snocasino.com. Only 30 minutes from downtown. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. We help all types of injury victims like Sean, who was rear-ended in a car accident.
They're just easy to work with. They're fast. I like the fact that he had military service. I can see a lot of Marine in Rob. He's very in charge, really gets things done. But I didn't have to do anything. He offered me a settlement, had a number in my head, was nearly double that. I would refer absolutely anybody to Rob.
If you've been injured, call us at 253-WARRIOR. Warrior Injury Law. Battle tested. Eddie's!
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bailalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bail Alarm, we got you.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Hi, welcome to Staples. Hi, I hear Staples can print it all for my business. Oh, if you can think it, Staples can print it. And will beat any print quote. Oh, great. I'm thinking new brochures and yard signs. No problem. I'm thinking calendars, t-shirts, and pens. Totally. I'm thinking Staples is the place for printing. I thought you might think that.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Breeze, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit. Accurate Auto Body.
If you've been in an auto accident, you have the right to take your vehicle to any repair facility. Accurate Auto Body has been family owned and operated since 1994, and they work for you, not your insurance company. Your insurance company may not love them, but you will, because
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit. Accurate Auto Body.
Hey, Bill! Got a leak? Need heat? Call Southwest today.
Southwest Plumbing, the one to call.
If you're looking for a new Mazda, go see our friends at Mazda of Everett. With over 790 new Mazdas in stock at 11409 Highway 99 in Everett, they have something for every budget and credit type. Save up to $3,970 on new Mazda CX-5s. Come meet the team and see why they've been Washington's largest Mazda dealer since 2015. Exceptional service and always their lowest prices. Visit in-store or online at MazdaofEverett.com today.
You've heard the saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Since 1926, my family's been helping local businesses make great first, second, and long-term impressions. We know how to make your company look good with quality uniforms, logoed apparel, floor mats, linens, and more. If you're paying for linen service or doing it yourself, let's have the conversation. The information and quote are free, but the savings and service can really add up. Visit suplinen.com. Superior Linen Service. It's what we do.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Woo, up top, bike shop. Yeah.
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo.
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
I'm going to go through some of what Jerry Dipoto had to say yesterday, and as I mentioned earlier, just want to play it as down the middle as possible, just honest reactions to a lot of these comments, some of which I think Jerry's spot on about, and some of which I don't understand where he's coming from or why he's making some of the points he makes. And there is quite a bit of both, I think, in this conversation from yesterday that he had with the media. I think we already went through, Brock, the line about how they did basically what they wanted to this offseason, much to the dismay of a few. I'm struggling with that one. I'm not surprised that this is what they did this offseason. I think I've been saying all along that I believe that they were, of the belief themselves that what they did in the last 6 weeks was real.
Yeah.
They truly believe that what they did in the last 5 or 6 weeks was the real team and the real offense, and that Dan and Edgar fixed a problem that had been bothering them for a very long time. I'm not surprised either that they didn't do a tremendous amount this offseason. Much to the dismay of a few.
Yeah, that's the challenge there.
It's really putting it on other people rather than on yourself, and I just don't understand that. It's also just not accurate.
Yeah, there's times in our experience of doing this over the years, I think we have learned that there's times that locally we see things very different than the national audience does. The guys that kind of zoom in or treetop it and just kind of see it from a that good old fashioned 35,000 foot perspective see it differently than those of us on the ground, and vice versa. Right? Sometimes we're a little bit too close to it, and there's maybe a little more logic or rationale from afar. I just don't think there's been anybody from Keith Law to Jeff Passan to anybody on the national level that has been on our station that has felt like they're good. This offense is fine. They don't need another impact bat. They couldn't use Pete Alonso or one of the multitude of different trades with a different first baseman, a Christian Walker. That I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot remember
I've not heard
national
anybody
voice
say this is now I just think they're going to bounce back, and now you're going to get a contending team.
Yeah, that's status quo, and that the final 6 weeks were good enough.
And again, that's not to say that the final 6 weeks weren't good or that there isn't promise for the team, but the idea that only a few haters are out there, snarkily talking about what's happened this offseason, I don't know, man. I think that A, is untrue, and B, goes against a lot of what both Jerry and Justin have said about their expectation to add impact to many of the holes that they had on the team heading into this. Here's Jerry giving more on what they like about the team and why the offense is better than maybe the public perception.
Obviously, we chose to hold on to Louis and the other 4 starting pitchers, and as we expected when the offseason began, pretty quiet offseason. And I think that's reflective of a team that didn't have a whole lot of holes to fill. And, we feel great about our farm system. We feel great about the stability in our team. And we feel like our offense doesn't get enough credit for the things that they do well. Dan and Edgar, once they jumped on board in August, I think there was a different vibe around our team, with few exceptions. I think just about anything that we could hope to have achieved over the last, let's call it 6 weeks of the season, from uptick in play on the field to improved offense to, just to winning games. We were as good as anybody in the league for that time. We're hoping that we can take that and ride that momentum into 2025.
I'm trying to remember who wrote about that in November. Lyle, do you remember who wrote about that in October, November? That there was somebody in our building wrote a nice little column about they feel better about those final 6 weeks than anybody else will, and because of that, just be very careful thinking they're going to swim in the pool with some of these other suitors for all these other moves. And Jerry says it flat out right there. Now, that is different, Salk. That is different. Lyle, sent this to us last night. I think Luke Arkins, who was on an absolute heater last night. Man, was he on a heater last night. He tweeted Justin Hollander's comments from the winter meetings, right? That was after the season ended, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that was like December, right? Talking about, let's see. This was Mr. Hollander. We need to add to our infield. We're working hard to do that. I think we'd love to add some type of first base impact to go along with Luke Raley, who can also swing into the outfield. Then the rest of the infield is flexible enough that we could add at second, we could add at third, we could add in a variety of different ways. Now, maybe they're saying that we did that.
I think they are saying that.
That Solano was our impact guy.
I think that's what they're saying.
To pair with Luke Raley.
Yes.
And that bringing back Jorge Polanco and moving him to the third base side is the other flexible move that, we were able to see. And
I think that's what they're saying. Here's Jerry on the first base decision. Yes.
We went into the offseason with what we thought were needs. at first base, second base, third base. And I'd mentioned before, we viewed first base as a potential, for a platoon with Luke Raley playing, the bigger role and, perhaps looking there for someone who could support him from the right side on what I would call, the short end of a platoon at first base, or do something more permanent if the opportunity presented itself.
Okay, so on one hand, Brock, again, there's a lot of this that's sort of there's a bunch in here.
Yep.
On one hand, I think he is sort of discounting the criticism based on the Hollander comments and saying, yeah, we had holes. We believe we filled them.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's what he's saying. We knew we had holes there, and we went into the offseason believing X, Y, and Z, and we came out of it believing what we've got now.
Yeah, and as they went into kind of like this draft process, right? You think this class is this. You get to the Senior Bowl and you realize, well, actually, this class is not that.
Okay.
And it's pretty average in a bunch of spots. And they went into it thinking, we're going to find an upgrade to Luke Raley.
But what I don't understand is if there was a regular first baseman available, maybe we'd have that conversation. There's literally still a regular first baseman available in Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
Like, those guys were there. A lot of them moved this offseason. So I'm not buying if just maybe. Also, with the commitment to Dan Wilson, part of that theory, my understanding was moving away from some of the platoons. So if Dan's not a big platoon guy, saying that a platoon at first was one of the great options, I'm not sure there's a lot of real continuity there or alignment, as you've mentioned before, as being something important. He goes on to talk about second base and Donovan Solano, their big offseason addition.
The other was second base, third base. We felt like we could fill one of those spots internally, and the other spot was likely going to be external. A combination of Dylan Moore and Ryan Bliss and what we feel is a bright future for Cole Young. Leo Ribas really presented us with some flexibility there. So that's the backdrop, and here we are. We went out and we added what we think is a real veteran presence in our clubhouse, quiet pro, and a guy like Donovan Solano, who's been excellent against left-hand pitching and pretty good against the righties as well. He can play a number of different positions, but in recent years, it's been more first base, third base, and not necessarily in that order. And we felt like, the addition of Donovan really gave us a stabilizer. It allowed us to have a potential answer at one or two positions, or it allowed us the ability to platoon at either.
I mean, I think that all makes sense. I don't disagree with any of that. Do you?
No, not really.
I think that's all pretty accurate. Like, yeah, okay, that's a plan. I'm okay with them choosing a position or so and trying to bet on some young guys. I really don't have a major problem with that. Almost every team does that. That is not unique to the Mariners. Most teams will give somebody young in their organization a shot to try to fill a hole, and if it doesn't work out, then that becomes something they've got to fix down the road.
Yeah, we've seen the Mariners do that in their rotation. We've seen guys out of the bullpen. Matt Brash, great example a couple of years ago. Certainly Julio Rodriguez forced his way.
And as you know, Brock, I've made this point now a bunch of times, and it'll be up in a column later today, seattlesports.com, that there is some benefit to filling those holes internally with young guys as opposed to externally with the Colton Wongs and
you mean the draft and develop?
Not just draft and develop, but when Colton Wong doesn't work or A.J. Pollock doesn't work, you've got to give them months of opportunity because they've got a track record that they're not living up to. And so they just continue to eat away day after day after day at your offensive production. If Ryan Bliss doesn't work out, you send him back down at Tacoma and move on. I mean, it's just not that hard. Like, okay, we'll try somebody else. See ya. Like, you're not married to him the way you have to be to an off-season addition. So that part doesn't really bother me. And Solano is a pretty good player and a pretty good hitter and the type of hitter that, should be useful. I have no problems with that at all. Here's a little bit more on their offense and why they're optimistic.
We had a few guys last year who came out and didn't have their best season and or got off to slow starts. We added Victor Robles in midseason. We added Randy Arozarena at the trade deadline. We get a full season from what we hope is a resurgent J.P. Crawford. And we get perhaps the second half of Julio rather than the first. And that goes a long way. You add that to some of the players we had who had breakout seasons like Luke Raley, excellent seasons like Cal Raleigh. we have a good offensive team, and we didn't feel like we needed to do a whole lot, but to find ways to support the group that we had. I know the off season has been long and seemingly slow. We feel, and I said this at season's end, we do feel like we made a lot of progress last year, and the additions of Arozarena, Robles, Solano, and a healthy Jorge Polanco with what we think will be bounce back seasons from a couple of guys who didn't have their best years.
So I can buy a lot of that. Honestly, Brock, there's a lot in there that I think makes sense. This is not just crush Jerry Day. I do think there's a bunch in there that makes sense. They did add Randy Arozarena at the deadline, not just for last year, but for this year and beyond as well. There's truth to that. They did add Robles and then sign him to a contract because of the success he had. They did like that. Those are moves they made, not just for last year, but for this year as well. And there is a reasonable expectation, as I talked about yesterday and wrote about last night, that JP and Julio and some other guys will have bounce back years. I think you've got to couple that, though, with a worry that someone like Cal or Rayleigh or Robles or Arozarena or any of them have off years. Like, you can't just say, oh, well, we're counting on all of these guys to have their better year. That often comes with a few guys having not as good a year. So I'm challenged by I appreciate the optimism, but I'm not sure that's a view fully based in reality.
Yeah, and the challenge, and this is kind of back to Joe Fan over the last couple years, Salk. I think a lot of the fandom that is out there that at times may or may not be in an echo chamber bouncing around. But the other argument is that that's all fine, and that is all very reasonable. Now give yourself some margin, right? That totally does make a bunch of sense. And if these things can happen, and if that domino falls that way, and JP bounces back, and Julio plays to a ceiling, and great. Now, do the other side of that, and what the teams at the very top.
What if you have a pitching
Give yourself
injury?
some margin.
What if your bullpen, which by the way you've not done much to add to at all, at least in terms of proven veterans, what if they start to struggle just like they did in the middle of last year, and you have a major problem? What if Matt Brash is closer to mid or late year than April, and there's a setback? There's a lot of what ifs in the other direction, and to say the perception is we didn't do a lot and that it was seemingly slow. No, it was objectively slow.
Yes.
I'm sorry that, again, the putting it on other people is not for me. Sorry. I'm not buying the putting it on the receiver. You can't blame the fan base and the media for what you're saying is a seemingly slow off season. It was a slow off season. Jorge Polanco was already on your team.
Yeah,
the only major league addition you made to your team was Donovan Solano.
Yeah.
What do you mean seemingly slow? It was slow. Just say it. We all have eyes. Don't blow smoke. Don't pee on my face and tell me it's raining. What are you talking about? It was a slow off season. Just say it.
Yes.
Okay. We all know it. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Why are you pretend? Everything else in that quote is reasonably accurate. Why do you have to then throw this barb in at people like we can't recognize that it was a slow off season? Of course it was. Just baffling. Why are you blaming us?
Yes.
All of us. The media, the fans, the everybody. What are you talking about? Seemingly slow off season, much to the dismay of a few? Why are you mad at us? There's a lot of positive in here. I don't even mind when you focus on it. But when you go too far and start talking about how, do you have the sound, Lyle, where he says that in the last 3 years, the team is top 10 in all these offensive categories?
I'm still looking for it. I'll try to find it at some point.
Can you just read it to me then? Do you have to pull up someone's info? Just read me the sound there.
Okay.
Because this is sort of the last piece of this, Brock. I'm sorry, we're cutting into Blue 88 for a moment. Right. But I think we've got to just finish this last part of it, because I think this sort of ties it all up in a big bow at the end.
Yeah, it does. I'm still just looking here. But basically what he talks about is how over the last 3 years, they've built what they feel like is a stable offense. Oh, here's the quote. So Adam Jude tweeted it out. He said, "We play in a tough ballpark to hit in. Our offense has generally been above average based on advanced metrics, WRC+, things like that for a number of years now. Here it is. The last 3 years, we've actually had a very stable offense, particularly good on the road. I think one of the top 10 in MLB when we're on the road.
Okay, and so, again, there's the peeing issue again. Like, we all watched the offense.
Also, selling fans on the last 3 years. Most of those guys in 2022 and 2023 aren't here anymore.
Well,
the team last year.
I was about to say.
Oh, sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
that's okay. Let me finish the rant, Lyle. You're not wrong. You're absolutely right. I'm just on a roll. I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead.
I'm rolling right now, and I should probably just give you the floor instead. But you're absolutely right. That's the point. Okay, if the offense has been generally good the last 3 years, why did you move on from so many of the guys that were making it work? Why did you move on from Eugenio Suarez and trade him for a bag of balls? Why did you move on from Teoscar Hernandez and not bring him back? Why didn't you keep a lot of the guys that were making the offense be top 10 over the last few years? Why did you fire the hitting coach and the other hitting coach and the offensive coordinator and the manager and everybody else who was responsible for this top 10 offense? Why did you instead choose to bring back the 2024 team nearly intact, despite the fact that the other 2 years attached to 2024, they're not top 10 in jack squat? It's just not accurate. You've taken a bunch of things that are true and manipulated them to make them untrue. I don't understand why. Why not just say, last 5 or 6 weeks were great. I believe in Dan and Edgar. That's the type of team we want to be. But if you're going to go back and try to sell me on the last 3 years, then you can't sell me on Dan and Edgar. You can't do both. You can't have it every way at the same time. Should I have just let you talk? Would that have been better? Should I just have gone with Lyle? Should we have just let Lyle do it?
No. No, I think that's a bad idea.
So, you know what had to happen to Ozzy's boil on his neck? It had to be
get lanced.
At some point, it can only sit there for so long.
I don't understand. There's a lot, honestly, I really do mean this. There's a lot of good news. There's a lot of things that Jerry can say and did say yesterday that are accurate and true.
Mm-hmm.
And there are legitimate reasons for hope. There are.
Yep.
There really are. This lineup they've put together should be better than last year. And Dan and Edgar
Dakota.
did do some positive things. But when you over-exaggerate it and bring in other things to prove whatever point you're trying to make to the dismay of a few and to those who seemingly thought the offense or didn't do much the offseason, you're unfortunately, you are invalidating a lot of the positive things that you're saying and doing. And I just don't understand why that's necessary. Let's do some Blue 88.
All right.
This is Brock and Salk's Blue 88.
Blue 88! Blue 88!
We take you to the field as Brock Heward breaks down 3 football questions as only he can.
Now here's your hosts, Brock Heward and Mike Salk.
Let's talk some football, Brock.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do that?
Yeah, because I got some Pacoda numbers you're going to like.
You
too,
do?
Yeah, when it comes to baseball.
You do?
Yeah, positive.
Where'd you find Pacoda?
I was digging last night.
That does sound fun.
I got a Pacoda number.
Well, let me play you some John Boyle. Here was John yesterday with, I think,
Stacy and
Bump
Bump on
Stacy.
video crushing it.
Here we go.
Mike in particular, we're seeing like two things he brings up a lot is guys just really loving football. I think, he's a coach that he wants guys to practice hard and practice long and, maybe a little more old school mentality despite being the youngest coach in the league. So he wants guys who really love the game. And then you got to, especially his defense players, like you got to be smart. You got to know what's asked of you and not putting blame on any individual players. But we saw during the season, like if guys aren't the right fit, he's not afraid to make that change right in season.
How unique is that to do?
Yeah, I think 31 other head coaches, Salk, would say they want guys that love football. I think the unique part of that was that next level of what they do schematically. And I don't know if you saw this yesterday. Mike McDonald wrote a letter to the season ticket holders, and it plays to some of this. And I love the last paragraph of it. I'm going to put my Ebenezer's on. I'm going to read it because I think it plays into that conversation. This was the coach to the season ticket holders. I want to win the Super Bowl for the city of Seattle in the 12s. We've got to make Lumen Field a nightmare for our opponents. And here's the kicker. Play a style of football nobody wants to play. So that is where that next level of, hey, man, we can line up. We can play quarters. We can line up. We can play cover 3. We can line up and do these conventional things that Jedd Fisch was talking about in this tree and in that tree and in that tree. Or we can take it to the next level. And we can be both physically brutal to play against and then mentally overwhelming. And that is the task, and those are the players who are going to continue to try to add to this roster.
Love it. Question number 2. I know you were talking to some folks in Alabama yesterday where you're pretty well connected. What did you find out about Tyler Booker, the offensive lineman we've seen mocked quite often to the Seahawks at number 18?
You know what we could do? We could kind of play back the G. Scott sound on the offensive guard from Ohio State. And everything he said about him. This comes from a coach down there in Alabama, Booker. Oh, Booker's the real deal. Unreal leader, tough, and plays through anything. And the part that I love, the very last little sentiment here, holds others accountable and is a baller. That is a top 20 guard. That might be a top 15 guard. That might be a guard that isn't there at 18, unfortunately, when it's all said and done, because those don't grow on trees. Linemen that hold other people accountable, that play through all the injury, being an offensive lineman, and oh, by the way, have all the physical goods and traits, not easy to come by.
Did you ask about the linebacker Jihad?
Did not.
Okay.
Did not.
Because that's the other name that's come up from Alabama. Maybe down the road.
Yeah.
All right.
We got time.
We got time. We got till April. Question number 3.
We got 90 days.
Question number 3. Jedd Fisch, what did he let out yesterday with us on his future plans and endeavors?
Remember before the season began, old C-Raj spitting in my face. Well, if they win, you know what's going to happen. He's going to go to Florida. Billy Napier is going to be fired. He's going to be fired. Fire him. He's horrible. And then all of a sudden, Florida actually got much better in the second half of the season, and Billy Napier's building some pretty good things down there. The concern for Jedd Fisch, if he has success in Seattle, the concern is not another college job. The concern for Jedd Fisch, if he has success, and that would be a great thing with Damon Williams, if they are a Big Ten contender and get to the playoff and everything else, awesome. That means good things. That means they recruited well. That means tickets have been sold. That means momentum's growing the right way. But the concern, and he even kind of let this slip out yesterday, talking about him and Howie Roseman, is being an NFL head coach. I think that will be the next path for Jedd Fisch. I'm really not terribly concerned about another college job. He gets paid very well here. This is a wonderful place to live and recruit to. He loves the West Coast. Yeah, the future, if there's a contender for success, if he finds it and takes it to the next level, it will be going on to being an NFL.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, good stuff. That is I'm sorry, abbreviated Blue 88, that's Brock. Okay. That's my fault.
No,
I own it.
I like those.
I'd like to own it. I'm sorry.
Sometimes you got to go up tempo.
Sometimes it happens, so I apologize. So just getting a little worked up.
You got to let it out.
Some of just.
Does it feel a little better after you let it out?
Yeah. A little bit. Good. It's been bubbling. It's been bubbling and boiling.
Percolating.
Bubbling, you know. Okay. I'm going to shift gears for the sake of everybody's sanity. I've said what I've said, and I don't know how many more times I need to say it. Let's do this. I'm going to come back to one word, Brock, that G used on Friday when he was in with us. You just mentioned a similar word and gave some credit to G for it. But the more I think about this word, the more I think it's important, and the more I think it's very, very difficult to formulate in today's day and age. It's next on Brock and Salk.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
Joining us here in the booth, Mariners broadcaster Gary Hill.
Julio being Julio is still going to matter, I think, more than anyone else you bring in. I think he can be a true difference maker, all-star MVP quality. I mean, we all know what his ceiling can be. And I'm actually really confident that he's going to have a big year. And because we have seen it in flashes where he has been among the best players in baseball.
Yeah.
Like the absolute best player that this game has to offer.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Attention buyers, the James D. Murphy Company invites you to a major public online equipment auction happening Thursday, February the 6th through Thursday the 13th in Marysville. It's packed, stacked, and racked with a huge lineup of vehicles, tools, heavy machinery, and much more. Find trucks, trailers, construction equipment, you name it, we got it. Over 1,000 items to be sold to the highest bidder. Featured items include a Super Sharp 2022 Kenworth T880 dump truck, a 2013 Komatsu PC-138 U.S. excavator, and a 2009 International Vector truck. A dozer up for grabs? You bet. But wait, There's more. We got over 100 gas-powered excavators, wheel loaders, and skid steers. Preview all this great gear in person at our Marysville location, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday, February the 11th and Wednesday the 12th. Do not miss this first major auction of the new year. Check MurphyAuction.com for photos and all details. That's MurphyAuction.com. MurphyAuction.com.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at EmeraldQueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. For over 55 years, you've trusted us for roofing, siding, windows, decking, and gutters. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors.
This is Chris Davis with the Davis Law Group. Did you know that a pedestrian does not have to be crossing the street on a marked crosswalk to have a successful legal claim against the driver? Pedestrians can even be partially at fault for a collision and still have a valuable claim. Call us today for a free consultation or get my free book on pedestrian accident law at WashingtonAccidentBooks.com. That's Davis Law Group, better service and even better results.
Hi, welcome to Staples. Hi, I hear Staples can print it all for my business. Oh, if you can think it, Staples can print it and will beat any print quote. Oh, great. I'm thinking new brochures and yard signs. No problem. I'm thinking calendars, t-shirts, and pens. Totally. I'm thinking Staples is the place for printing. I thought you might think that.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Please, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
Something amazing is happening in networking. Organizations are scaling with less stress. That's because CDW is designing and implementing intelligent HPE Aruba networking solutions that simplify and secure operations. With automation at the center of your data center, growing pains can be a thing of the past. HPE Aruba Networking and CDW. Make amazing happen. Learn more at cdw.com/Aruba.
Some things you wouldn't mind being stuck with, like a huge inheritance. But a phone that has to be plugged in just right so it charges is not one of those things. Switch to Verizon and we'll pay off your old phone up to $800 via prepaid MasterCard for a new one on us. Just trade in any phone from our top brands with select unlimited plans. $829.99 purchase with new smartphone line on select unlimited plans. Minimum $90 per month with auto pay plus taxes and fees for 36 months required. Less $830 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Trade-in terms apply. Payoff phone requires smartphone purchase and port in with new smartphone line on select plan. Must provide most recent bill showing payoff amount of eligible phone. Additional terms apply.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers. T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Get in the freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
Brock Ewert is my hero.
Jay Buhner just punched me in the kidney.
Who's going to do you a minute?
It doesn't really work that way, Sherm. This is a show that has my name on it.
It kind of does, though.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Ewert and Mike Salk.
Hello! when G. Scott was with us on Friday, Brock, I know you're almost an obsessive note taker. I don't take nearly as many notes as you, but occasionally I will write something down on my little show sheet here. And I did, and then I circled it and underlined it, the whole deal, when G said it last week. And you were asking him about Ohio State and what the difference is there and what, it was a great conversation. G used a word that I'm not sure we've used that often in our 16 years together, and maybe it's one we should start using more. The word was standard. That at Ohio State, there is a standard set for how you're going to behave, what you're going to do, how things are going to operate, how they should work, that there's a standard set that everybody has to live up to. And if you don't, then you're not going to make it there. And the word you just used a few minutes ago, accountability, right? Holding your teammates or whomever accountable.
Yeah, young offensive guard at Bama is one that holds everybody else accountable.
That it's a lot easier to hold people accountable when there is a commonly known and understood and accepted standard.
What are you
right?
holding me accountable to?
That's right. Easy to say hold someone accountable. Okay, to what?
Yep.
Right? And I found I just started thinking about the teams I was on. I want to hear your stories about the teams you were on, to be honest with you, because obviously you played in a lot more, more teams, better teams, etc. But the best coaches I ever had were the hardest on us and were very clear about what they expected, as opposed to coddling or trying to be buddies, etc.
Tea and toast.
No, even there. Like I mean, we had bad coaches and good ones.
Yep. And
the best coach I ever had in high school, the one who helped us turn our program around and go from losing every game for 3 straight years to going 5-2 our senior year, and losing 2 games by I think a combined 8 points or something like that. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He set a standard. This is who we're going to be.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about setting a vision and the importance of setting a vision for a team. I've probably used that word more than anyone in this town ever. I love it. I do think you've got to have a vision for what you want your team to be. But I'm not sure I've spent nearly enough time talking about standards. And I notice it in youth sports, right? Some teams come out in basketball and their kids have drills. They know exactly what to do during warm-ups. Some of them are doing push-ups. Some of them are doing sprints. And then they know exactly what the standard is because it's been set. This is how you warm up. And some teams do a little layup. They take a couple jump shots. They kind of loosen up a little bit with and then they go out there and play.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not reaching the same standard. And I don't know whether their players are any worse, but they're not as together. They don't run their plays as sharply. They don't, all of those things come from having a standard. That's at the youth sports level.
Yep.
How does that work as you grow up and get to major college and eventually into professional sports?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a far-ranging conversation. And as you were chatting through that, I've thought about this because I shared about it at the men's group I was at on Saturday. 1,700 men out of Brave Church. It was just awesome. And the closest, the word I used was authentic. The most authentic, closest team that I ever played on was the 2003 Indianapolis Colts. And very clearly, Tony Dungy, now he operated in a different manner than many others. His coordinator was, Tom was a little tougher, a little more rugged. Defense coordinator, D-line coach got in a fight on the sidelines. That wasn't necessarily great. But Tony was tip of the spear, and you knew at the tip of the spear was going to be this way. And then obviously right behind him was Peyton, and then everybody else fell in line. But it was just such a, there was a standard. There was a standard to work and to just commit. And it wasn't, Marvin Harrison and Edgerrin James, Peyton Manning, your best players were unbelievable workers. And that's really what G's talking about at Ohio State as well, Salk. When you go watch Ohio State, they're a $20 million roster. They're loaded with 5 stars. They have a bunch of this different talent. But you know what? Emeka Egbuka and their best players, all of them, Jack Sawyer and JT and all of them, they're their hardest workers because that's what we do. It's what we love.
Is that the standard? Is that because of the Ohio State standard, or is that just who those guys are?
If you don't have that, if your very best player, I've never been on a team where your most talented players were the lackadaisical, just kind of go through.
Right.
We're good. We don't really have to work.
No, I understand. I'm not agreeing with you. I totally agree. I think that's incredibly important.
Any standard, anything else is just talk.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you can have all these wonderful thoughts and quotes and culture builders and vision and all this stuff you want to do, but like it's the same thing. I know people are listening to this, and this is where often what I love about this job is that sports, but it's really no different in sports radio. It really is no different in a school. It really is no different in a sales office. It really is no different in a development company. Like when your most talented people work the hardest, it just sets the tone for everybody else. And they typically fall in line. They know, like, yeah, that's the standard. When the most talented people get away with X and Y and Z, and they can go do their own thing, and they don't really care, and they'll produce. Yeah, you can win games. Yeah, you can have some success. Yeah, you can make some money.
Is that
but
what
it's just
started
never going
to
to reach the heights?
Is that what started to slip away from Pete in the last couple of years here? The standard. We've talked a lot about kind of what it is, and the more I think about it, that is one of the things I think that started to slip away from it. I don't think it was gone. But in Pete's early years, and we talk about the cutting of Lendale White and Hoosh and all that stuff. Like, there's a standard. You got to live up to the standard.
And there was a standard of the way they practiced.
Absolutely.
And we saw that. And I would say, unfortunately, some of that was cut at the knees. Some of the fines that they took, some of the draft picks they lost, some of the NFLPA that creeped around that building and all over that place.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, the standard was Doug and Richard are going to go at it, and they're going to literally be in fisticuffs. The standard is we are going to be more physical in these OTAs than anybody else in the league is. And then all of a sudden the league said, no, you're not. And here's $500,000, and here's $750,000, and here's a draft pick, and here we're going to be filming everything you're doing, and you're not going to go about it that way, and kind of undercut a lot of that competitive standard that was built in 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. Now, maybe it crossed the line. You and I were there for a day that was like, uh-oh.
Yep.
Uh-oh. You want to talk about a time where maybe it was slipping, Salk? Maybe if there was one event, and you talk about the Jimmy Graham trade a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to point to that moment that
Clark.
was sickening.
Yeah.
It was sickening.
It was.
To sucker punch and fight and throw. Like, that was awful.
It was awful.
That was really, truly, truly awful.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know.
But that was because the standard almost went to such an extent. I don't know. I found myself thinking a lot about it. And there's a lot caught up in the word expectations, accountability, all of it. But I really do believe the best coaches, the best organizations, the best general managers, presidents, et cetera, really set a high standard for what the expectation is going to be.
They do.
And then they go out and hold everyone accountable to it.
And you know what's funny? If you were to say to me on the Seahawks roster, it'd be interesting. Maybe save this for G as well on Friday. Is if you were to say who would be the standard bearers, who would be the one that would understand how to set the standard? Like who are some of those guys that were there with Pete and obviously John was kept around and the administration, they wanted to keep some of that culture, some of those in place. Who would it be? I think Jaron Reed is right near the top of that.
I think you're right.
I think of Julian Love for Mike McDonald is right near the top of that. And what did you see them do this year? Multiple times on the field. Grab dudes and say,
That's not how we do it here.
Not how we do it here.
Yeah.
Not how we play here.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, this isn't about anything in particular. This isn't I'm not talking about this to criticize anyone or to say anyone's not living up to this. It was just something that I found myself thinking about a lot after we talked to G on Friday. We do need to hold people to a standard.
So
And
when you get
where
on Captain Tom's boat, guess what?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a charity award winner or you're an accomplished fisherman.
Yeah.
You get on his boat, there's a standard.
I believe
You're
it.
going to reel.
I believe
Tip
it.
up. He is going to yell at you. He's going to demand the best of you because there is a
Lyman and Bob
standard.
that you didn't quite meet that standard.
Yeah.
Oh, no. When I started, I wasn't close. Are you kidding me, Maura? I reeled
They
and
held him
swear.
accountable, and he got to that
Yes.
standard.
Yeah, but by the time, you get enough years on there's a standard when you step on that boat.
Well, one person, we're talking to Andy McKay here in about 20 minutes, who has done such a phenomenal job with the Mariners farm system, as he's been their player development director. He's also an assistant GM, but a great player development director, and has really, helped, I think, set a standard for the way they handle things in their minor league system. I'm excited to talk to him, and that's one of the words I want to ask him about. as well. That's coming up in 20 after everything you need to know next. It's Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710, seattlesports.com.
Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Let's figure out what the Mariners front office is saying with this free agent period. Bump, what are they saying to you?
They're saying, run it back. Our philosophy, we believe it works. It's going to hit eventually.
To me, their offseason says that they're comfortable remaining in a rebuild, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the actions do not speak like a team that is all in on winning right now. Pedal to the metal. Finally, we're hitting the gas, and we're going into the next phase of this rebuild. It doesn't feel like a team in the next phase of the rebuild.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app.
Hey, Brock Hewitt here for my friends at First Mark. Have you been with the same insurance agent and carrier for so long you just assume they're doing right by you? Is your frustration mounting? I don't know, maybe your carrier left the game, as mine did. Maybe your carrier has seen, you have seen rates and premiums just explode. You don't know if you got the right deal. You don't know, or have a teammate working for you. Well, that is where you need to take the First Mark Insurance Challenge, just like Molly and I did. I am so glad we did. We did a couple years ago, and it has saved us thousands on our premiums, but the peace of mind, a great teammate that's going to work for you, now that is a First Mark Challenge victory. Here's how they do it. They analyze your current coverage, making sure you're not overpaying for the wrong coverage. Then, unlike you and me, they go to the market. Dozens of major carriers they've worked with for decades to find you the best fit. That's it. No stress, no confusion. They're your teammate. And they spent the last 3 decades helping thousands of families, including mine, successfully manage this complicated world of insurance. So don't wait a morning longer. Take the First Mark Challenge. It's totally free, and you might be the next First Mark Challenge victory that I get to call. Just go to firstmarkinsurance.com. First Mark, your teammate that goes to work for you.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
Does your yard need shade, privacy, or a little brightening up? Look no further than Big Trees. I'm Nancy Penrose, owner of Big Trees in Snohomish. At our 30-acre location, there are thousands of trees to choose from and knowledgeable staff, including a board-certified master arborist, to help you find exactly what you're looking for. Visit the nursery and learn more about Big Trees at bigtreesupply.com.
Beauty, privacy, instantly. Big Trees.
Free consultations, no fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Your favorite Seattle sports show is available anywhere you go through the Seattle Sports app. Brought to you by Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center Proton Therapy. Full shows and interviews, exclusive video and articles from the home of the Seahawks and Mariners. The Hot Stove Show. Stay up to date on the Mariners offseason with Aaron Goldsmith, Gary Hill, and Shannon Dreyer.
Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. leading up to spring training.
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Ooh, up top, bike shop. Yeah.
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo!
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Swedish Cyberknife has been serving the Pacific Northwest with innovative and compassionate care since 2006. Being able to precisely and accurately deliver radiation makes a difference in terms of controlling cancer and reducing the risk of side effects. The treatment is completed in only 5 sessions, lasting less than an hour. Patient surveys consistently give Swedish Cyberknife the highest of rankings. Swedish.org/cyberknife prostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish Cyberknife.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
Well, Jerry Dipoto, speaking yesterday with the media, is reasonably happy with how the offseason went and what they were able to accomplish. Here's Jerry.
The positive trend that developed over the season's final 6 weeks, the way we saw our team come together, I think especially notable was the uptick we saw in our offense. And the group generally played well together. And one of our points going into this offseason, and I know I made it sitting in the dugout in final series there, was that we didn't anticipate a great deal of movement around the team. And, as we are now about a week away from headed to spring training, I'd say that probably played out to be spot on, much to, I think, the dismay of a few. But we have a good team.
Plan Z. Plan Z was to trade pitching and take from the strength. That was the way, if you were going to rebuild this thing, Salk, and add impact. It was never going to be Bregman, Alonso, even Christian Walker, 3 years and $70 million. That was not
60.
That was not going to be $60 million. That was not going to be on the table.
Even Santander in what turned out to be less than 15 a year.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know that that's the way I ever read this. Here is Jason Churchill, who was on yesterday with Bump and Stacy, and said, no, that they might not be done yet. There could still be something that goes down in the spring.
And to be honest with you, I'm not as sure as some seem to be that they're done. I think if you're Seattle in the situation you're in, you have to be open until opening day and beyond. I mean, teams generally don't make significant trades after opening day, but sometimes in March, certainly in February, we're just early in February. Sometimes even in March, after the Cactus League gets going, you'll see a significant player get moved. And if you're Seattle, you want to be involved in that if you can.
And that has happened. Obviously, the Winker, Eugenio deal, now that was coming off of the lockout, but still, we've seen moves. And as I said, I would anticipate there is one more something to be made before they take the field in April. But I don't know what that is right now.
I would think that would be a bullpen arm.
Sure feels that way, doesn't it?
Yep, kind of see what the idea really does look like and how much that comes to fruition in Santos, see exactly where Brash is. We heard yesterday Troy Taylor did have a setback. Remember, Troy was a big part of the final 6 weeks of the season.
For you, because Jerry was pretty optimistic about Santos, less so right now about Taylor.
Similarly, Gregory Santos, who missed a lot of time last year, he's already down in spring training, throwing his bullpens at 100% effort, and he looks good to go from day one, which is equally as exciting. We are going to be without Troy Taylor for a little bit at the start of spring training. He's had a bit of a lat strain in his offseason workouts. It popped up about a week ago, and we're going to take it easy on him with the throwing.
So, yeah, I mean, certainly the Santos news.
You ever had a lat strain?
Have I?
Yeah.
No. You?
Man, I go through that operation game on my own body.
Yeah.
Had just about every injury, but a lat strain, never done that one.
Well, you're not a pitcher. Obviously, you've been okay, though.
Thanks.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
Said this earlier, I'll say it again. If you are of the belief that Geno Smith is a quarterback that can win a Super Bowl, then you should be 100% after the Seahawks to go get Myles Garrett, who says he wants out of Cleveland. Yes, the Browns say they don't want to trade him, but so what? They have to say that. Here's Adam Schefter.
This is not a surprise to the Browns. The Browns knew about his unhappiness. I think they've asked around. They've prepared for it. They've gotten some opinions about how to best handle this situation, knowing that it could be coming. And I think that they are dug in and entrenched in their stance that they're not going to trade Myles Garrett. That's not the kind of player you move on from. You're talking about arguably the best defensive player in the league, 29 years old. That's a player that helps you win a Super Bowl, and that's what the Browns want to try to do.
The Browns are going to trade Myles Garrett.
The Browns will trade Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's made over $120 million on the field in Cleveland. And when you're a player of that standing with that financial backing, you hold out and just say, fine, you don't want to do it. I can hold out. You know, when you're a Hassan Reddick or some of these guys that are looking for that generational deal, maybe it's a little harder and you cave in the end. But, yeah, we have seen this story played out with players of his ilk. He will ultimately be traded. I don't think, as we sit here today, that Seattle's much of an option.
I don't either, but I think they should be. And if you're of the belief that Geno is the kind of quarterback that can win a Super Bowl. As for Cooper Kupp, he's going to be available as well. I don't see how that's a great fit for Seattle either. Love the player.
I don't see anybody trading for that.
No, maybe there's a deal where he comes in and essentially replaces Tyler Lockett, but with the injuries, it's really hard for me to imagine.
I think there's going to be suitors for that fella, though. Whether that's in Buffalo, whether that's in Pittsburgh, whether that's some of these teams that do have a need for that kind of player with that kind of experience. And, he is 30. The body, obviously in father times, catching up to him a little bit, but he can still.
All right.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
Finally, some Huskies. Brent Carroll, their offense coordinator, is going to go to Vegas to join his dad, Pete, as the O-line coach for the Raiders. To fill in the gap, Jedd Fisch promoting Jimmy Doherty to offensive coordinator. Michael Switzer will be the O-line coach.
Titus just saw Brennan Carroll.
Yeah.
These colleges come by high schools at this kind of time of year and make their way around different places. So, yeah, that's a Titus was like, do you think last week when he was by the campus, he goes like, do you think he'll? And I'm like, I don't know, Ty. It's like, I think he's going to follow his dad.
Yeah, I would think so.
We'll see.
It is weird that last year they had the two sons and then both of their dads got hired and they were both like, see ya, gotta go work for my dad.
That's right.
See you later. Kraken get back to it tonight. They've got Detroit at home at Climate Pledge. So that's the latest.
Everything you need to know. The Doherty one, that's very, very natural. Remember, Jedd calls the plays.
Yeah.
So that's just more of an opportunity, A, for Jimmy to be elevated, B, make a little bit more pay, and C, kind of work right alongside. Like that's a home run. That makes total sense.
Okay.
The O-line one is that'll be interesting. They just had hired him. Doesn't have a lot of experience doing that. That is such a key position. So Switzer, not related to Barry, by the way, not related. In any
Is he
way
related to the other Switzer that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago? There was another Switzer we were talking about. Yes, this is Michael. We were talking about Brett or something like that, Switzer. Yes.
Not you and me.
Yeah, we were talking about it because he was being interviewed or talked about for the Seahawks O-line job or quarterback job.
I was in Cabo. I don't remember.
You think you were out?
Oh, I know I was out. I don't remember any Switzer.
Why wouldn't you be a part of the Switzer conversation?
I don't know.
It's not like you. Andy McKay helps run a Mariner farm system that has just been named by Keith Law to be the best in the business. Why and how and what is the standard they're trying to set? We'll talk to him about that and a whole lot more next on Brock and Salk.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
Voice of your Seattle Mariners, Aaron Goldsmith is with us.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
What's interesting about the 2025 Mariners is that it's less of a story of, I wonder what this guy can be, and more of a story of, we've seen what this guy can be. Can he be that guy again? And for a full season. Like, we've seen them all do it individually at different times. Can they do it in unison now?
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Well, let's talk stats. We've been mentioning them throughout the morning. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the state of Washington is number 4 in the entire United States with the highest concentration of roofers. There are literally thousands of them to choose from here in our state. So how do you pick the right one? Let's just go process of elimination, right? Anyone who's not GAF Master Elite certified, take them out. That's 97%. So now you're down to the Elite 3. Well, how many have over 35 years of experience? How many utilize the catch-all system, which makes sure your yard and driveway are totally free and clear of debris? How many are family-owned? And then finally, how many have the stamp of approval from the Salk household? You know there's only one, and it's the roofing company you can trust. It's Riverside Roofing. In a sea of thousands, Riverside continues to stand out, and they've got openings this winter for your project. With the little snow and ice and everything else we've had the last couple days, you may need to give them a call. Have them out to your house this week. Call 425-949-8252 or go to riversideroofingllc.com.
Bull riding, the perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. PBR bucks into Angel of the Winds Arena in Everett Friday, February 14th and Saturday, February 15th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
Sometimes even heroes need rescuing.
I'm a retired firefighter, 27 years.
Kurt had severe pain in his knees and his shoulder, which was keeping him from enjoying his well-deserved retirement.
Loved to ski, loved to fish, and couldn't even walk 18 holes.
That's why Kurt decided to see Dr. Mark Wagner, MD at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine for stem cell therapy.
He was just awesome. He goes, yeah, give me a shot. And he took care of me. He stemmed my knee and my shoulder.
And how are you feeling now?
I was pain-free in 12 weeks. I play golf now pain-free, and it's awesome.
So you'd recommend this treatment to others in your situation?
Absolutely. Yeah, Dr. Wagner's, he's had a couple people call me, and I recommended that they do it.
Before you choose surgery, consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Schedule your consultation at drmarkwagnermd.com.
35 years from manufacturing to consulting to installations. I've taken the very best from every level of replacing windows and doors and put it into our people and processes. Hi, I'm Adrian, owner of Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Over time, we've developed our exclusive Leak Armor installation to protect your home from the harsh elements, with the peace of mind of a lifetime warranty. With a 4.9 star rating on over 1,000 reviews, we're a company you can trust. Visit us today, lakewashingtonwindows.com, a name you can trust.
The Cantina at Silver Reef is an experience for your senses. The smells, the sounds, the flavors is a night you deserve. Experience the experience at the Cantina at Silver Reef today. Serving traditionally inspired dishes made with the finest authentic ingredients. This is one experience that you can enjoy more than once in a lifetime. Experience it today at Silver Reef Casino Resort in Ferndale, Washington. And visit our website, silverreefcasino.com, to check out our menu.
Hey, Bill! Got a leak? Need heat? Call Southwest today.
Southwest Plumbing, the one to call.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. We help all types of injury victims like Sean, who was rear-ended in a car accident.
They're just easy to work with. They're fast. I like the fact that he had military service. I can see a lot of Marine in Rob. He's very in charge, really gets things done. But I didn't have to do anything. He offered me a settlement, had a number in my head, was nearly double that. I would refer absolutely anybody to Rob.
If you've been injured, call us at 253-WARRIOR. Warrior Injury Law. Battle tested.
Eddie's! If it's a new year and a new you, it begins with a new car. At Toyota of Kirkland, they're ready for your resolutions. Come see the beautiful showroom and wonderful team at Toyota of Kirkland to kick off 2025. Check out the wide selection of Tundras, Tacomas, and RAV4s. Get electrified in your ride with Toyota of Kirkland's inventory of Prius and the BZ4X. The best way to start the new year is by visiting Toyota of Kirkland in person or online at toyotaofkirkland.com.
Hey, Brock Hewitt here for my friends at PCF Group, or People Come First Construction Group, and that's exactly what they did when we made the call a couple years ago. We wanted to redo our outdoor space, wanted to add a deck, an outdoor living, a television, and a kitchen, and PCF Group, wow, they more than delivered. And if you're interested in building a stunning outdoor area like we did, I cannot recommend them enough. Reach out before the good weather arrives, and their schedule, well, it's going to fill up. So whether you're looking for a complete outdoor living space or a very specific project like an underdeck ceiling, deck, patio cover, railings, PCF has you covered. Design now and pay later. In fact, get 12 months, no interest and no payments, and up to $6,000 off and a $1,000 Amazon gift card. Request that complimentary design and estimate consultation today at 206-992-0364, 206-992-0364, or project ideas, explore photos at pcfgroup.com, pcfgroup.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
When you have the number one farm system in baseball, according to Keith Law, and a top system according to just about everybody, there's a lot of people who are responsible for that. And obviously the drafting is a big part of it, Brock, and the international free agents. But just bringing those guys into your system, not make them great. You've got to develop them, and you've got to take them from oftentimes age 16, 17, 18, all the way to being big league ball players. And Andy McKay has had a lot to do with that. And this is now, the second time the Mariners have reached this pinnacle. Pretty impressive. So one of the assistant GMs and a guy who's been really heavily involved with their development, Andy McKay, kind enough to take a few minutes with us. Good morning, Andy. How are you?
Good morning. How are you guys?
I think we're doing great, and looking forward to some of the guys that we'll see in spring training who have made have gotten the big league invite this year to big league camp. Let's talk through this system a little bit. When you hear that they are number 1, number 3, number 5, whatever the number may be, how proud are you of this group of players?
You know, I'm exceptionally proud of them, and like you said, whether the number is 1 or 3 or 5, it's a nice thing to hear. But you know, I've been here when that number was 29 and 30, and the debate was, were we 29 or 30? And it doesn't change the job. It's a teaching job. It's a leadership job, and your job is to help the kids get better, however you can. And so the fundamentals of the job doesn't change. But I'm thrilled for this group of players, and you know, you're cautiously optimistic, and you know that being a top prospect is a long ways away from being a winning major league player. And so we have a lot of work to do.
Andy, what are some of the pillars that have gone into the drafting and the developing? As Mike said, you guys have now done this on a couple occasions. You did it with a whole bunch of arms first time around. Now it's a whole bunch of positional players. What are just some of the pillars, the philosophies right at the core of the development game?
Yeah. It's a great question, and it's not as black and white as you might think, you know, as opposed to the other sports where you're transitioning right from the draft into the league for the most part. You know, our guys are so far away, and the journeys can be so long. And so, you know, it's probably going to look a little bit different for a young international player versus a high school player versus a high-end college player. You know, but from a pitching standpoint, you're always looking for strike throwers. You know, that's what draws you to George Kirby. You know, what he was doing at Elon College was, you know, almost like once in a lifetime type of strike throwing. And obviously that's continued, you know, in his career with the Mariners. So you're looking for strike throwers. You're looking for just pure stuff. You're looking for how the body moves. The medical is a huge piece of this thing. And so those things have always been there. From an offensive standpoint, you know, it varies by position a little bit, but you know, guys who can play in the middle of the diamond, you know, your skill positions, stay in the infield, which is really hard. And, you know, shortstops end up going to third base, to second base, getting pushed out to the outfield. So you're trying to find those infielders who can stick long enough. And then with the bat, there's so many different ways to get there, whether it's a power profile or a more of a pure line drive profile. But, you know, guys who understand the ball from strike and can give you consistent at bats and swing at the right pitches, those are all things that have been pretty consistent through our time together.
One of the things, Andy, that has jumped out to us, and I think we've talked about it quite a bit, is that in the last 5-6 years, there seems anyway to have been a shift towards real high upside players as opposed to just high floor players, or at the very least, it's played out that way. How does that change development? I think I understand what that looks like from a scouting perspective. How do you develop for high upside versus just high floor?
Yeah, Well, it depends a little bit on the age of the player. And so, like, for example, if you were to take a real high ceiling high school player, going into it, and you're working with your coaches, you're talking to your coaches about this is going to be different. There are going to be a lot more ups and downs on this journey. It's going to be a clean, straight line. And as somebody who I spent so much of my life in the college game, I can remember talking about whether it was Harry Ford or Cole or Colt or Johnny Formello. It's like, guys, these kids should be enjoying their last summer before going to live in the dorms at Wake Forest or Georgia Tech or wherever they were going, which is right in my wheelhouse. And, they're kids. They're going to do some incredibly stupid things, but it's age appropriate, and so you're looking at it in a much longer trajectory, understanding there are so many things that have to be taught and covered, as opposed to saying, hey, here is, our first round pick who just spent 3 years in college baseball, played on Team USA, pitched in the Cape Cod League. They're just different trajectories. Mm-hmm. And as long as you understand that going in, it's fine.
Andy McKay here with us, assistant general manager of the Seattle Mariners, and specifically on the drafting and the developing side of it. So the semi-truck leaves today, I believe, for T-Mobile down to the desert. We'll be down there in a few weeks. When we are, 5 of your 6 top 100 players, we're going to get a chance to see in Major League Camp. Andy, for us and for our audience and for all of the fans going to be down there, how about just like an attribute for one of these guys to look for? Maybe a skill set, a strength, something. When I say their name, maybe the first thing that pops in your mind, and at the top with from a ranking standpoint with Emerson.
Leadership.
Celestine.
Upside.
I like that answer.
Big Montez.
Power.
Harry Ford, you mentioned earlier.
Athlete.
Arroyo.
Consistency.
And then the finale, and somebody that may actually push even in this camp for that second base time and slot, Mr. Young.
Predictable. He's just that guy that you know what you're going to get. He's an athlete. He's a student of the game. He plays hard. He wants to be really good. And, with him, we talk about ceilings, his floor is pretty high. Mm-hmm. And, when you watch him, and that's the fun part of my job, is you get to see these guys in all of their highs and lows. And when you see Cole Young not playing well, it's not that bad, and it can still contribute to a win on a given night, and he can fix it pretty quickly. He's pretty much been the youngest player on every team he's played on. He's been years younger than league average. He's more than held his own doing it.
How good could Felnine really be?
Really good. We have to get the health part figured out, which, they're just some random things that have happened, but they've really impacted his opportunities to be on the field thus far. But when he has played, he's the best player on the field. And, my notes that I'll have, or I'll get a text thread with Jerry and Justin, and it'll usually say something like, wow, I think this is what they look like. The ceiling is very high with them.
So the other thing is, we're talking to Andy McKay. So Mariners make a change last year at the big league level, and not just a manager and hitting coach, but really in many ways a philosophical change with how the offense starts to look moving forward. How does that affect the way players are being developed, specifically hitters, with Edgar now taking on more of a system-wide role and a presence.
Yeah.
How does that change some of the development side of it?
Yeah, and fortunately for us, it's not going to change, a lot. And we spent our off season with, whether it's Edgar and Kevin Seitzer and C.J. Gilman, who's just done a phenomenal job as our minor league hitting coordinator. We've all spent a lot of time together talking through these things and understanding where we're on the same page, where we need a little tweak somewhere. And a lot of it might be verbiage. A lot of it might be, semantics that are just slightly off one way or the other. But, CJ and Edgar are very much aligned, as is kind of under the umbrella of where Dan is, which is really trying to lean on the approach side of an at-bat, the mental aspects of hitting, using the whole field and giving your team the at-bat that the game warrants in that moment in time. And, obviously you saw some fairly immediate results with Edgar, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But, the alignment between our major league group and our minor league group is really good right now. And no concerns there.
Andy, did I see you tweet for the 25th time the inner game of tennis? I think that's as I've looked back over your years of Twitter, I think you've tweeted about this book 25 times.
Yeah.
Or maybe you've read it 25 times.
No, I've read it. It was a textbook I used in my classroom in my sport performance course that I was teaching. And so when I say that, it's like, well, you got to remember that's like 2 classes a semester, 2 semesters a year for 20 years. It adds up. And, when people are like, why does the professor change the book all the time? It's because they're tired of reading it with you. Like they need something else. And, but that's one of those timeless books. And Galloway wrote it years ago, and it's always been kind of a foundational classic. And Coach Carroll kind of brought it back to life to some extent, and now it's celebrating its 50th anniversary. So
why is it so good? Book. Yeah, I think I'm going to pick that one up before my flight to Peoria. Why is that one so good?
Yeah, because it began an honest conversation about what athletes go through in performance, and it gave you verbiage and kind of dialogue for conversation, and it's kind of centered around this idea of self one and self two. Self one being the internal critical thinker, which is part of every competitor. And self two is kind of that get out of my own way and let it rip and go do my thing. And how those two parts of yourself interact and support each other, and how you transition between the two of them. And just incredibly impactful. And most of what you've seen in performance psych afterwards is kind of stemming from that basic concept.
Is there a guy that you can think of that really embodies figuring that out and figuring out how to let it rip and all of that?
Logan Gilbert to a T. He's got the ability to be a very thorough preparer, internal thinker, deep thinker, managing information, always working on his game, kind of the mad scientist. And at 7:00, here comes Walter, and it's a totally different person. It's the alter ego, if you want to call it that. And I always wonder I don't know if Walter's the alter ego or Logan's the alter ego. I'm not really sure. Like, is it Clark Kent or Superman? I'm not sure which one's the real guy, but I love them both dearly, and I'm glad that he's on my team. Both of them are on my team.
That's interesting, Andy. I've seen that on the course with Salk. He's one guy on the range before we begin.
Yeah.
He's tinkering, he's thinking, he's doing all this stuff.
Two.
And then you get on the course.
Self one is way too much thought once you get on the course and the ball's spraying all over the place. Nobody
got
wants
that.
So
you got it backwards.
How do you fix yourself on the course? And when you're spraying the ball, how do you fix it without thinking about your swing?
Mostly F-bombs, I found, has been among the most helpful ways of getting everything fixed out. A lot of negative self-talk. Is that the right way to do it?
There you go.
No.
And how good of a golfer are you, by the way?
Yeah, not good. Yeah, not very good. No, not very good.
I wonder why.
Yeah, no, it might have something to do with that. Let me ask you about a word Brock and I were just talking about to start this hour, and it came up in a completely different context with actually the Ohio State football team, but the word was standard. Setting a standard.
Yeah.
And it's something that I know has been talked about over the last 8-9 years with this Mariner organization that didn't always have high standards throughout the org, not just at the big league level, but the minor league level about what it meant to be a Mariner. And I know there was a lot done at the spring training site. When I talk about, or when you talk about setting a standard for your organization, what does that mean? And how hard is it to achieve?
Yeah. Oh, it's very hard to achieve. And I think when you think about whether it's professional sports, you mentioned Ohio State football, any high-end group, most of us are trying to do pretty similar things. And the magic is in who can actually do it and who can pull off their vision and bring it to life. And, we feel pretty good about the standards we've created in our efforts to meet them. And it's a bit of a mixed bag. We've certainly had some success. We've created some stability. We've created a level of success that, and a consistency to it that we're proud of. And I think we should be. And at the same time, we haven't done what we need to be doing. We really haven't met the ultimate standard that we set for ourselves, which was being a perennial postseason team and bringing a World Series championship to our fans in Seattle, because our fans deserve that. And so both things can be true. In some ways we've met the standard and we've moved our base camp much higher, closer to it. But at the end of the day, we haven't got the job done that our fans deserve, and that's why we still have so much work to do, and we're trying to refine it and get better at it.
Hey, Andy, last thing for me here. We mentioned some of the top prospect names, but the beauty of baseball is, there's Logan and there's George, and they were first-round picks, and they went through, and they're studs. But on the other end of that, there's Wu and there's Miller, and, there's success stories that can come from any number of different places. For those fans that are going to go down there and go to the backfield, who are a couple young guys that maybe you got your eye on, that you would say, these names, 5 of them are up in big league camp, but make sure you keep an eye on so-and-so and so-and-so, because what we're seeing developmentally behind the scenes got us pretty excited.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's the beauty of baseball, that's too long of a story to go in. But, to answer your question specifically, our first 2 picks from last year, Ryan Sloan, a high school pitcher, who we all went in and saw. I went into the house and met with the kid and immediately knew this kid needs to be a Mariner. Jurangelo Sinjay, I don't know if you've ever seen a switch pitcher live.
No.
No, I think Jurangelo wins like the most unique prospect on our list. I can pitch with both hands and I speak 5 languages. So those 2 will be great. They haven't thrown a pitch for us yet, and this is their first spring training.
Have you decided on him yet? Have you decided what he's going to, is he going to try to fast track with one arm, or is he going to be throwing with both arms?
He's going to be throwing with both arms, and we're just going to let it play a little bit, and ultimately, he's going to tell us what it's going to do. It's either it's going to work or it's not, and it's going to become a right-handed pitcher or just a left-handed pitcher or what have you. But we've got to give it a real opportunity to figure out what it is. And, it's very different in a pro environment every 5 days and more starts, as opposed to a 7-day rotation in college. So there's going to be some trial and error here. The one name I'll give you, Ben Williamson, and our coaches love this player to death. Our analysts love this player. Our scouts loved this player. And recently he graded out in one of the industry sources. It might have been Fangraphs, I'm not sure, but is arguably the best defensive infielder in minor league baseball. And whether he is or he isn't, he's definitely in that conversation. high baseball IQ, tremendous competitor, was part of that championship team in Arkansas last year, and just a true professional. So that'd be a good one to watch.
You couldn't help but notice him last year at spring training. Yeah. Just every time he was in a game, he stood out. So I am looking forward to seeing a little bit more from him this year. Glad he was on your list of guys that we should be focused on. Andy, congrats to you and to the not but the whole group, the drafting, the developing, just putting this whole group together. And we're looking forward to the next few years and seeing how they end up finding their way to the big league level. So thanks for spending some time with us, and congrats to your whole group.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. Thanks, fellas.
All right, there you go. There's Andy McKay, who is I think his title is assistant GM, but he's done so much work with the development group. Remember, he was going to be in uniform in the dugout last year or 2 years ago, and then they ended up having some other people move around, so he went back into the development role. I think what has always set Andy apart is, he comes at this from really a sports psychology standpoint. Yep. As he said, he was a professor. He's worked on that. And so the mental element of getting these guys from age 18, or in some cases 16, you know what I meant to ask him about, and I was in my notes, maybe we'll do it next time, and I think I've probably asked him about it before, is, okay, cool, those are the U.S.-born kids. What about when you're throwing into the mix, a 16-year-old who's coming from the Dominican for the first time, and he's meeting up with those 18-year-old American, it's got to be such a mental and emotional challenge for them, and then how the adults handle that and make it easier for them. Baseball's hard. It really is, and it's why I will sometimes say that's baseball and people get mad at me. It has complications that other sports don't, and some of the stuff I think Andy is walking, he's done an incredibly good job with.
Yeah, and then you got a monster. Like, what happens when you have a 16-year-old monster that comes in?
I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, what a challenge.
Did you like the words he had for each of those guys?
I did, and you hear athlete all the time for Emerson, right? It just and that's when they've hit with their number one picks, and obviously he wasn't 1-1, but he was top 5. But you think of obviously the kid and A-Rod, they're just athletes. They're just built and equipped differently, right? It's like these top NFL draft picks that every year you got 8 to 15 of them, and they're just equipped and built a little bit different than the rest. And you hear that about him an awful lot. Celestine's got to stay healthy. Young's got that high floor. Kind of reinforced, I think, a lot of what we have heard about these different guys. And that old self 1 to self 2, Salky, that is a big, big part. I had a hard time getting a self 2.
You did, right? Isn't that the artist blacksmith thing?
Yeah, I just would too often live in self 1 of just over analytical and over analyzing everything and taking that on the field and before snap thinking through this and all of the that's self 1.
We were thinking about this the other day. We see it in basketball. I think I see it sometimes with Avery and some of her drama, acting, singing stuff. Wanting to get it right versus wanting to make it fun.
Yep.
Is that how you would describe some of the challenge that whole blacksmith thing? Like, I want to do it right. I want to go from my first read to my second read to my third read. I have to know what that is, as opposed to just going to cut loose.
The blacksmith and artist is a little more, I would say, of the creative. This, to me, lands a little bit more in the over analytical versus just let it rip. Just cut it loose. You've done all the work. You've done all the prep. The hay is in the barn. Now go play.
Okay, so I got to ask you a question about that. I'm going to come back, take a quick break. We'll come back. I got to ask you a question about that because it's cool to talk about. I love the trying to figure out how this all works. But here's the question, and you take a moment to answer it.
Okay.
Can you change that? Can you take somebody who's prone to the analytical and get them to just let it rip? That's next on Brock and Salk.
Blue 88 on Brock and Salk.
Rule changes in the NFL. What should we expect?
Every day at 7:45.
Roger Goodell is going to finally lose the chain gang. And one of the things that the USFL that I have been around has actually used and employed the last couple years is Hawkeye technology. There's going to be no more of this bring the chains out. Is it an inch short? Is it 6 inches? Nope. You will see that technology employed next year. I strongly believe that.
Blue 88 answering 3 football questions as only Brock Heward can.
Attention buyers, the James D. Murphy Company invites you to a major public online equipment auction happening Thursday, February the 6th through Thursday the 13th in Marysville. It's packed, stacked, and racked with a huge lineup of vehicles, tools, heavy machinery, and much more. Find trucks, trailers, construction equipment, you name it, we got it. Over 1,000 items to be sold to the highest bidder. Featured items include a Super Sharp 2022 Kenworth T880 dump truck, a 2013 Komatsu PC-138 U.S. excavator, and a 2009 International Vector truck. A dozer up for grabs? You bet. But wait, there's more. We got over 100 gas-powered excavators, wheel loaders, and skid steers. Preview all this great gear in person at our Marysville location, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday, February the 11th and Wednesday the 12th. Do not miss this first major auction of the new year. Check murphyauction.com for photos and all details. That's murphyauction.com. murphyauction.com.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
We could all use more time. Amazon Business offers smart business buying solutions so you can spend more time growing your business and less time doing the admin. I can see why they call it smart. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Hi, welcome to Staples. Hi, I hear Staples can print it all for my business. Oh, if you can think it, Staples can print it, and will beat any print quote. Oh, great. I'm thinking new brochures and yard signs? No problem. I'm thinking calendars, t-shirts, and pens. Totally. I'm thinking Staples is the place for printing. I thought you might think that.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
April breeze, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be... Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
Vivid Seats is your ultimate destination for basketball and hockey this season. With a game-changing rewards program and an unbeatable selection of tickets, they make it easy for every fan to watch their favorite teams and players in action. Catch every one-timer and buzz-beating 3 live and in person from your favorite seat. Plus, every ticket is backed by a 100% buyer guarantee, giving you peace of mind with every purchase. Don't miss out. Visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats, the official ticketing partner of ESPN.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like the clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here. 3 more new customer requests just came in. Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Rob Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Some things you wouldn't mind being stuck with, like a huge inheritance. But a phone that has to be plugged in just right so it charges is not one of those things. Switch to Verizon and we'll pay off your old phone up to $800 via prepaid MasterCard for a new one on us. Just trade in any phone from our top brands with select unlimited plans. $829.99 purchase with new smartphone line on select unlimited plans. Minimum $90 per month with auto pay plus taxes and fees for 36 months required. Less $830 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Trade-in terms apply. Payoff phone requires smartphone purchase and port in with new smartphone line on select plan. Must provide most recent bill showing payoff amount of eligible phone. Additional terms apply.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Get his freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
I don't read the internet, guys.
Take the bull by the hands.
And Brooke, you are. And Brooke, you are.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Eward and Mike Salk.
I don't know about you. I really enjoyed the conversation with Andy McKay. We wanted to make sure we had him on after talking to Keith Law last week about the top-rated farm system, and I thought Andy handled that perfectly. It doesn't matter whether it's 1, 3, 5. They're doing a good job, right? They don't. I don't think they look necessarily at the specific rankings. They say, "Hey, we're doing a good job," right? Doesn't matter whether this guy is ranked 8 or 12 or 17. Like, he's a good player. And it's important to note that that person is playing well. I really do find myself interested, Brock, in that conversation about Self 1 and Self 2. And what's the name of the book? Because maybe I'll read it too. It does sound like something we should both read.
The Inner Game of Tennis.
Okay, The Inner Game of Tennis. And Self 1 is the analytical part of your mind.
Yep.
And then the Self 2 is the part that's just like cut it loose.
Yep.
Just let it rip and see what happens.
And you do think of Pete. Pete wrote the new forward in it some years ago and kind of brought it back to life. And it's been around. It's kind of as Andy said, it was kind of the original like sports psychology book in a sport, tennis, golf, that are very similar. That are so mental.
When you were playing,
yes,
did you have anyone who could talk to you about that stuff?
No. Nope. And in fact, I was it's like the front end. So you pose the question, can you change that? Can you coach that? Can you teach that?
Yeah, essentially, can you bring out Self 2 and limit Self 1?
Well, both ways now. Like, it's
right.
easy to
You got to balance it.
Yes.
Right. No, I get that.
The number of times I've heard from parents like, oh man, if I could take this kid and that kid and blend them together.
Of course.
Right. That one's just motor. That one's just, let it rip. And well, that one's brain, and that one, like, blend them, it'd be amazing. But they're both kind of wired on either side of that thing. I do think of Peyton Manning, honestly. So in the early 2000s, I think I have shared this story before, not in terrific depth. I went to the Colts, spent 3 years in Seattle, get traded to the Colts. There's no question that my time in Seattle left me a little scarred. Even the end, my last season in Washington, a little scarred, just psychologically, to play the game, to not think, but just go and react and cut it loose. And they had a sports psychologist. Didn't have one in Seattle at that time, but the Colts did. And Peyton, I believe, was one of kind of the front runners for that, because Peyton likewise has a brain, very analytical, unbelievably smart, functions at a level that most don't. And I think maybe struggled at times to equally, okay, there's all that processing, now go play. And he really leaned into that. And if you think about Peyton, you think about like golfers, you think about tennis players, you think about athletes. Drew Brees was the same way. There was a routine. You would watch Peyton with his hand towel and with his knee brace. It was almost like a mechanism to click in, like, okay, now we go. Right? Now I'm thinking, now we go. Now I'm thinking, now we go. And can you train enough of that? I, sadly, still in my Self 1, was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't think I want to share my weaknesses. I don't think I'm in a position to be vulnerable.
Right.
I want to still have this mask in this presentation that I got it covered, right? You can't have some, over analytical, whatever. In my mind, that unfortunately was a barrier.
Right.
It was a barrier. And
you think it would have
back,
been easier if that person didn't work for the team?
Now, he didn't work for the team. They hired him out, but I think that, and that was part of it too.
The fear that maybe he reported back to the team.
Exactly.
What if it was somebody you had hired specifically away from all of that?
Yeah, like a Trevor Moawad that
right.
Russell utilized. Yep. Bless his heart. I was thinking about him on a hike a couple weeks ago in Arizona that we lost him, and he loved to hike in Arizona. And, he did help Sam. He did help Haley a little bit. He was an amazing resource for so many different people. Yes, I have thought, like, man, I would have been the poster child to really maximize someone like Andy McKay, someone like Trevor Moawad, somebody like that who would help me realize you're not alone. You're not the only one suffering this. And, and it's okay that you've got a really analytical mind. right? Use that like Logan Gilbert has been able to do. Use all of that analytics. And then when it's time to go, be like you were your senior year of high school when you're playing Rogers and you told that before every time you faced them.
Jeez.
I'm going to eat your lunch.
Oh, man.
I
made the mistake of giving Brock an excuse to relive the glory years. That's on me.
How many years have you guys worked together?
Yeah, everybody, I'd just like to raise my hand. That one's on me. I thought I had an interesting debate going. I forgot this was just a for Brock to relive the glory years against the Rogers Rams.
I won't use the last name, but Topher. He was like 6'6" in junior high, right? Topher blocked everybody. Topher was a monster, but when Topher saw me, it was like, yep, you know you're in trouble. You know, Topher, I'm going to own you tonight. You know, Topher, you're in real trouble. So that was my Walter. I wish I could have clicked on that Walter, certainly late in college and into my NFL career.
Do you think it's easier to help people cut it loose or easier to get the loose person to be a little bit more analytical?
I don't know. I think, honestly, that goes and flows both ways. Like I watch a lot of these youth sports now, Salk, like you do, and you're starting to. And I watch like this AAU basketball, or I watch this 7-on-7 football. I'm like, oh gosh, this is killing me. They just are Joe Cool. Just they don't have a care in the world.
Right.
I'm gonna go, and I'm like, where is the urgency? Where is the attention to detail? Where is like anything that actually is going to equate to helping your actual team in high school or college or pro? So I think I don't know. I think it can probably go a little of both ways. I would say maybe, and I'm biased on this because I struggled with self 1 to self 2. I would think it'd be easier to help self 2 focus in a little bit. Hey, let's dial into a few of these little details here. Let's let it rip. In many ways, I mean, isn't that Logan Gilbert versus Felix Hernandez, right? I mean, Felix was self 2, like just pick a ball, see it, let it rip. I don't think there was a whole bunch of over analysis going on.
Or didn't always need to, right?
Didn't need to.
Did you see that story? Just speaking of that, you made me think of it. Did you see the pitching ninja story this week about Pedro? Did anybody happen to catch that? The story is that Pedro makes his first All-Star game and is around Glavine and Maddox and is watching, I think specifically Maddox throwing bullpens, and is like, hey, are you spotting your changeup? Like you throw it to the left side, right side, arm side, glove side, etc. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, man, I didn't know you could do that. I just would only concentrate on the amount of movement I would get and the speed it would get. I didn't even think about spotting it. And they were like, yeah, you can spot. And Pedro goes back and is like, oh, I'm going to start doing that. Yep. Realize that it meant he'd already made an All-Star game before even thinking that he could spot his changeup.
That's right.
And then it just took him to a whole nother level. Yep. So you're right. I think when you get that combination of these two selves, then you are able to really create a great player.
It's Tom Brady. Damon saw it day one.
I mean, right now, isn't it? Specifically right now, isn't it Patrick Mahomes?
They're both the same guy. They're absolutely the same. Damon saw it day one, training camp. His first year there in New England. Like, this guy's just different. He's got all the analytics. And then he's just got all the self-belief. Mm-hmm. Like he just blends those two. And Patrick Mahomes, exactly the same. Could take on all that Andy Reid stuff and have all that volume, and then could just go out there and play like he did when he was 12 years old.
Yeah, I'm constantly finding myself in trying to work with my kids and coach them a little bit off the court or off the ice or whatever, having these conversations that I'm worried, and I bet you a lot of other parents feel this way. I'm worried it's pushing them too much to one side, right? Where I'm like, hey, you got to cut off the baseline or something like that. Just a sort of a truism in basketball. You got to cut off the baseline. Okay, well, do I always need to cut off the baseline? Like, what if it's a lefty? And okay, well, not always, but in general, like, you have to still be able to, hey, setting a pick is never a bad idea. Well, it's not, right, until the person has lost their dribble and you're running over to them and trying to set a pick because dad told you setting a pick is never a bad idea. Like, well, okay, in that situation, you've got to think about the game in general, right? And
it's why they've got to play and play.
Right.
And play. And play.
Well, but I think it's easy to get into the mindset of kids need to practice more and play less. Like, they've got to learn all these fundamentals and this and that. But then you're right. Like, if you just practice that stuff.
Correct.
The hardest thing I think I've seen watching the kids, and again, these kids are just fifth grade for the most part of what I'm watching, and I think some of this is just age appropriate. but taking what they practice into the games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that will change at some point, watch kids, but just like, hey, you guys just worked on V-cuts for 20 minutes. Then you get into the scrimmage and no one V-cuts. That's literally you were doing this. Why did you all V-cut for 20 minutes and then stand around shouting the ball handler's name while you're standing still?
Pass.
So bizarre.
Yes.
Harper. V-cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a PD that's like, we talked about going to break at 9:09.
Yeah.
Talk about
we
it,
ignore all that.
And you just
Evan
don't
Cohen has reached the pinnacle, man. He's the morning show host on ESPN Radio. Heading down to the Super Bowl. He's going to join us in 20 after everything you need to know next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
Joining us here in the booth, Mariners broadcaster Gary Hill.
Julio being Julio is still going to matter, I think, more than anyone else you bring in. I think he can be a true difference maker, all-star MVP quality. I mean, we all know what his ceiling can be. And I'm actually really confident that he's going to have a big year. And because we have seen it in flashes where he has been among the best players in baseball.
Yeah.
Like the absolute best player that this game has to offer.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Hey, Brock Ewart here, and I've had to share some sports injuries. I think there's a lot of us in the building that got to realize our dream, and if you play pro sports, well, you're going to have had concussions and separated shoulders and torn rib cartilage and dislocated knees and ankles and all that other good stuff. But you don't have to play pro sports to know what I'm talking about. Painful joints from arthritis, they can affect anyone and make it hard to do pretty much anything. Well, that is where my buddy, my friend, Dr. Daniel Nelson from Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine comes to play. He has seen so many patients through the years suffering from joint pain caused by arthritis in their shoulder, in their back, in their hip, in their knee. So don't let pain stop you from your quality of life. Consider Dr. Nelson, the only doctor with over 30 years, yes, over 30 years of experience in pain medicine techniques, including stem cell therapy, a non-surgical solution to pain using your own stem cells and platelet-rich plasma to harness your body's healing potential. Consider stem cell therapy and so much more with Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD, at 425-823-4000. 425-823-4000 or visit DanielNelsonMD.com. That's DanielNelsonMD.com.
Bull riding, the perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. PBR bucks into Angel of the Winds Arena in Everett Friday, February 14th and Saturday, February 15th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.
The LJ Way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
Hello. Welcome to the Lee Johnson Auto Family. This is King. This organization's a special one. They call it the Lee Johnson Auto Family, and it's not just a name, it's not just some cliche. They foster an environment for us to become a family, to work together, to really become close, and they show us in a lot of different ways that they do value us. Is it perfect? No place is. But I've been very thankful to be here in the almost 10 years and have every plan to stay here for a lot longer and just watch it continue to grow.
He's fun and professional, which explains why so many people visiting Lee Johnson Kia ask for him by name. The LJ Way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
It is that time of year, homeowners. You start thinking about that roof with all of the rain and probably snow coming, and you wonder, do I need a new roof? Do I need a repair? Or even what is happening up there? Well, I was thinking the same thing, so I had Asset Roofing come out and do a full inspection for me, and they were extremely professional. The communication was great every step of the way, and the best part is they sent me a detailed report with pictures showing me what they saw and gave me the recommendations. And what you really need is an expert on your side. And Asset Roofing is on my side. Allow them to work for you too, especially if your home is surrounded by trees like mine is, which leads to the moss growth that was happening. Your roof is supposed to last upwards of 20 years, so a yearly inspection is a very small price to pay for adding to the lifespan of your roof, saving you big money down the road and giving you peace of mind. Find out more at AssetRoofingCo.com. That's AssetRoofingCo.com.
Certified work that's never in doubt. Asset Roofing excellence is on the house.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
For Down Territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
If it's a new year and a new you, it begins with a new car. At Toyota of Kirkland, they're ready for your resolutions. Come see the beautiful showroom and wonderful team at Toyota of Kirkland to kick off 2025. Check out the wide selection of Tundras, Tacomas, and RAV4s. Get electrified in your ride with Toyota of Kirkland's inventory of Prius and the BZ4X. The best way to start the new year is by visiting Toyota of Kirkland in person or online at toyotaofkirkland.com.
O'Brien. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Planning to propose this Valentine's Day? Shane Company has your back. Our easy process to create your dream engagement ring is rock solid. 1. Pick your ring setting. 2. Choose your center stone. 3. Personalize it. With our wide selection of beautiful settings and hand-picked diamonds and gemstones, all at competitive prices, your ring will be as unique as your love story. We'll hand-set your ring in our jeweler's workshop right here in our store and protect it with our free lifetime warranty. Walk in with a dream, walk out with the ring that will take their breath away. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
You've heard the saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Since 1926, my family's been helping local businesses make great first, second, and long-term impressions. We know how to make your company look good with quality uniforms, logoed apparel, floor mats, linens, and more. If you're paying for linen service or doing it yourself, let's have the conversation. The information and quote are free, but the savings and service can really add up. Visit suplinen.com. Superior Linen Service. It's what we do.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
A lot of reaction to Jerry Dipoto speaking yesterday, really publicly for the first time in a while, answering questions from the media. And he was very positive about the effects of the offseason thus far.
The positive trend that developed over the season's final 6 weeks, the way we saw our team come together, I think especially notable was the uptick we saw in our offense. And the group generally played well together. And one of our points going into this offseason, and I know I made it sitting in the dugout in final series there, was that we didn't anticipate a great deal of movement around the team. And, as we are now about a week away from headed to spring training, I'd say that probably played out to be spot on, much to, I think, the dismay of a few. But we have a good team.
That one really kind of blows my mind. I don't know that it's been the dismay of a few. And if you're going to say that it's been a kind of quiet off season as we expected it to be, I don't know how you could then refer to people who've called it a quiet off season as a supposedly quiet off season. You're calling it quiet yourself. In any event, Jerry goes on to talk about some of the positives with that offense.
There is the reality of our offense and then the perception of our offense. And, our offense, we play in a tough ballpark to hit in. Our offense has generally been above average based on advanced metrics, WRC plus, things like that, for a number of years now. The last 3 years, we've actually had a very stable offense, particularly on the road. I think one of the top 10 in MLB when we're on the road. And at home, we play in a tough run scoring environment that really benefits our pitching staff, and our players, position players, have been asked to find ways. And we've generally done that.
So the challenge with baseball, Salky, and we know this over the years, it really is the greatest sport where figures don't lie, liars figure, and you can move things around any which way. But when you say over the last 3 years you have been an above average offense, where? Above average would be above the top 15 or in the top 15, right? Is that a run scored?
Well, I think there was a bunch of categories where if you average out the last 3 years,
you've been above average.
Yes. I think it was, and I do think it included runs and OPS plus and WRC Plus. There are a bunch of them.
But our eyes have seen so many games
and again,
where you don't produce. Your eyes saw 2 years ago, second most strikeouts in the history, I believe, of the league, so you made wholesale changes, right? Your eyes saw last year, boy, we have to fire the coordinator and hitting coach because there was a 100-game stretch
Brock, they fired
where
two
you
coaches.
Where you were threatening to be the lowest average in the history of baseball. Like, those
they
were
fired
real
two hitting
things.
coaches and a manager. And then if you're going to use again, I don't want to get too much into this again, but if you're going to use the last 3 years average as a figure, why did you move on from the people that helped create that? And instead you're bringing back almost intact the entire 2024 offense, which did not finish in the top half of most anything.
Let me end this on a positive. 2025 playoff chances. According to Dipoto.
Mm-hmm.
You know where the Mariners sit? What do you think their playoff percentage?
Well, you know how much I love
chances?
playoff percentages. 60%.
Pretty darn close. 58%. 12th in the league.
Yeah.
Dodgers, Braves, actually the Cubs, 87%. Yankees, Baltimore, Mets, Texas, Philly, Minnesota, Houston, you and Arizona, right there between 58 and 60.
I've said it a bunch of times. There are positives with the Mariners, and Jerry said a lot of very positive, true things yesterday. This should not be a just bash the whole, and hopefully it hasn't been taken that way. We've talked about some of the real positives of what they've done and what it could look like this year. But I don't understand these little shots fired at I don't know whether it's fans or media or who he means when he says the few. I don't understand why that stuff's necessary.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
I am intrigued, though, by Myles Garrett, Brock, and if he wants a trade, I think the Seahawks should absolutely be having that conversations, especially if they're planning on keeping Geno Smith and they believe that he's a quarterback who can win them a Super Bowl. Why not get him all the help around him you can get? And, yeah, I'm not saying offensive line's not important. It is. And you can, I think, do both. But this is a generational kind of a player on the edge of your defense where you could really use it. And you know, as Dan Orlovsky pointed out, we gave you this stat earlier, one of only 3 players. He's third all time in most number of sacks before his 30s, behind just Reggie White and Jared Allen. Both those guys had a bunch more productive years once they turned 30, which he won't do until this December.
Yeah,
an opportunity to add an unbelievable player.
We argued about this earlier. You and I see it a little bit differently. I think you've got to address the foundation and the biggest weaknesses on your team, and trading away picks and spending big money and on a luxury like that. I just don't think where they are timing wise, but if it were to happen, sign me up. I would be all for it and cheering along the way, because he'd be a star. And this team and this market needs difference making stars.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
I should also mention Cooper Kupp is going to end up being a free agent if he doesn't get traded. He announced that yesterday. Doesn't seem like that's a natural fit here in Seattle, but who knows? UW making some changes. Brennan Carroll, their OC, is going to go to Vegas to be with his dad. Staff, he's going to be the offensive line coach under Chip Kelly.
Opportunity for him.
Yeah.
He'd been assistant O-line coach for all those years with Pete here. He became the O-line coach, and by title, the OC with Washington. It was obviously Coach Fisch calling the plays, but now to be the guy, to be the head O-line coach for Chip Kelly in the NFL, that's a good step for Brennan, as it is for Steve Belichick leaving. So I don't think that's terribly surprising, to be honest with you. I think when Jedd made those hires, I don't think he looked at Brennan Carroll and Steve Belichick as going to be lifers around me here at Washington. That was not the case.
Especially if their dads were going to get back in the game.
Correct. And they got back in the game.
Yeah.
And both of them.
See you later.
Ryan Walters fills in on the defensive side. I think a great coordinator hire there. You elevate Jimmy Doherty. He'd been on staff. He's now OC by title. As I said to you earlier, the question will really be, what is it, Switzer? Which Switzer is it?
Michael
Switzer. That's a big step for him. Not been in that position before, and that's a position that's really got to get shored up for the Huskies.
That is everything you need to know. Quarter past every hour on the Brock and Salk show. Because I happened to pull up Jared Allen's football reference page today, Brock. Did you know? Here's a quick did you know.
Did you know?
Jared Allen is the all-time leader in one statistic. Do you know what that statistic is, and with how many?
Sure, I don't.
What if I told you the number
Forced fumbles.
4? He is the all-time leader in this stat with 4.
With 4?
With a total of 4. What could Jared Allen lead all
the
time?
History of the NFL?
As far as, at least as long as this number has been kept, he was all-time leader with 4.
Touchdown receptions as a defensive player?
That is not it.
Was it fumble recoveries return for touchdowns?
It was not that either. No. He returned only 1 fumble return for a touchdown.
Not close, Lyle. Come on. Be better.
Whatever.
Safeties. Number 1 all-time with 4 safeties.
That's number
2 and
1
08.
all-time?
That's what it says. It's a gold career totals indicate an all-time career record.
I'm not buying that.
You don't think anyone's had more? 5 safeties in their career? They're pretty rare. You think when Jared Allen goes into the Hall of Fame, he'll do the little safety dance thing that they do when the ref does
Like an Egyptian?
walk like an Egyptian deal? We're going to talk to Evan Cohen, who's getting ready for the Super Bowl next. Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710 and the Seattle Sports app.
Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Let's figure out what the Mariners front office is saying with this free agent period. Bump, what are they saying to you?
They're saying, run it back. Our philosophy, we believe it works. It's going to hit eventually.
To me, their offseason says that they're comfortable remaining in a rebuild, if that makes sense. Like, the actions do not speak like a team that is all in on winning right now. Pedal to the metal. Finally, we're hitting the gas, and we're going into the next phase of this rebuild. It doesn't feel like a team in the next phase of the rebuild.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app.
All right, you guys looking for something fun to do? Fun night out? Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is the spot. Perfect place to go unwind, watch huge games this weekend, right? And everything that comes with it as well. You can get some great food. Vista Prime Steaks and Seafood. Awesome happy hour that starts at 4. Falls Buffet is serving up all your favorites like prime rib every day and the stir fry and the noodles and the pizza and the salad bar, the dessert bar, the whole deal. They've got the awesome views and, yeah, just a ton of fun to be had at the Coming Soon Hotel, which you're adding to Snoqualmie Casino. Go to snocasino.com for all the details. Seattle's closest is Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Mr. K's Construction reminds parents to enroll your kids in a positive youth program. Sports, hobbies, and community activities improve overall health, performance in school. These programs decrease drug use and violence and develop self-discipline and leadership skills. Let's team together this year to help our kids reach their full potential. Best wishes to all our kids from the entire team at Mr. K's Construction, committed to making your home and our community beautiful since 1977.
The Seattle Golf Show, Friday, February 7th and Saturday the 8th at the Seattle Convention Center has 100 exhibits. Buy tickets online and get up to 4 rounds of golf and get free balls while they last at the door. Shop the huge Putts golf sale. Kids under 12 are free. VIP tickets at seattlegolfshow.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? It has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery when you add a base. Ends Monday. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Stream every Seattle sports show with the Seattle Sports app. Brought to you by Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center Proton Therapy. Get new videos, podcasts, and articles on the Seahawks and Mariners from your favorite Seattle sports personalities daily.
Hey, let's throw a party this year for the big game.
Oh, great idea. But first, we should get a new TV. One of the top-rated brands. Samsung, LG, or Sony.
Okay, I'll start shopping on the internet and then head over to the Warehouse Club.
Well, but if that's all we do, we'll be sorry.
Why?
Because the best deals on those top-rated TVs are at video only, not online or at the club.
Video only?
Yep. We can save up to $500 if we shop smart.
Or we'll be sorry.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
Bring on the sunshine with a trip to see your Seattle Mariners. Come to sunny and warm Peoria, Arizona for another great year of spring training baseball. There's no better time to wind up at the Peoria Sports Complex where you can see all your favorite Mariners up close. Spring training in Peoria has plenty of sunshine, warm temperatures, and the best seats in baseball. It's family fun for all ages. Book your trip today. Support your Seattle Mariners in Arizona for another exciting spring training season. Get your tickets at peoriabaseball.com.
Start the year fresh with Washington Energy's New Year, New Home Sales event. Upgrade and save 15% on energy-efficient Bryant heating systems for your home. Keep cozy and safe this winter storm season with 15% off Honeywell whole home generators. Prepare for spring with 15% off beautiful Anderson windows and reliable Simonton doors. All on sale now for a limited time. It's the New Year, New Home Sales event with Washington Energy Services, bringing good energy to your home.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rireka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
This is Brock and Salk
weekdays 6 to 10.
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
We're going to talk to Evan Cohen coming up here in a few minutes, host of Unsportsmanlike on ESPN Radio, morning show that precedes us. He's great. I'm so happy they hired radio people to do that show after a long time of trying to make it work with TV people and just people. Not a shot at them. It's a radio show. And so the fact that they hired him and Michelle Smallman, who's excellent. We may talk to her next week as well. She and I texted a little bit over the weekend. She's really good, and she'll be down at the Super Bowl, I think, starting tomorrow. So get some of her thoughts.
Their show will be?
Yes, and she's also like a real baseball person coming from St. Louis, so kind of curious to chat with her. And then Chris Candy does a good job. So Evan. Oh, he's just asking, is he calling us? Yes, he is calling us.
Yes. Does it feel a long time ago, by the way, 10 years ago, that we were on Radio Row in Arizona when you were getting us in big trouble? Gosh,
with Bruce.
Yes. Lyle Lamora, you should be so thankful you weren't there. I forget what iteration that was down there. Was that Wassel? And I'm like,
I always had fun at the Super Bowl. Radio was fun.
I mean, it was fun. It was a great time, except for the Arizona PR guys over there. And I chatted with them during the break, and I'm like, hey, Bruce is making the rounds. Any chance Bruce can pop on with us? And he was wearing his little fedora thing, and great. And then all of a sudden we start the segment. Salk's just ripping him. What an excuse maker. Look at the over there, and the PR guy's like, oh, you know what? Slashed his throat like, no,
you're not gonna do that.
Not coming on that show.
Worth it.
Nope, that's not gonna happen.
100% worth it. 100% worth it, Brock. It was not worth having Bruce Arians on to not talk about what an excuse maker he was. Evan Cohen, Unsportsmanlike, joining us right now. Good morning, sir. Are you down there yet, or do you head down tonight? What's your schedule?
I am literally in the airport at LaGuardia as we speak right now in New York, heading down there tonight.
Okay.
Nice. How many radio rows have you done for the Super Bowl, Evan?
10 to 15, probably. I would think.
Would you always go from West Palm?
So I went a couple of years from West Palm. Then when I worked at Sirius, we went every single year that was not a West Coast Super Bowl because I was on in the morning. And then this is my second year working at ESPN. And so this is the first time we're going. We didn't go last year with the Pacific time and us at 6 in the morning, so Eastern time. And so, this is my first one with ESPN, which is awesome.
It's cool. I've only been to one. I mean, we never go from here.
Really?
The only time I've been is in 2014 when the Seahawks
Evan, it was
were
a
there.
one and done. I mean, the minute he started ripping Bruce Arians in front of their PR guy, and the PR, I had it all scheduled. As you know, you get Radio Row, everyone's walking around, you get your producer to go over, and I was like, no, I'll handle the PR guy.
Stop.
So I'm like, hey, man.
The people that are doing the interviewing, like there's definitely some memorable ones. I remember one time, there's a weird thing I said, but at the time I felt this. I remember sitting down, Matthew Stafford was on. I don't know why he would have come on with me on ESPN West Palm back in the day. And I have this whole thing, and obviously there's a quarterback-centric theme to this. I have this whole thing that you need to, like, look the part if you're the number one overall pick as a quarterback, right? Like, Cam Newton looked like the number one overall pick. I remember saying to Matthew Stafford, I don't think you're good looking enough to have been the number one pick in the draft. And he started dying of laughter. Right? Like, that's what you want. But you want them to, like, take that the right way.
Right.
But if he took it the wrong way, forget it. It's like, why am I here then?
What is the worst Radio Row interview you can remember that you had that you got into and were like, why in the world did I say yes
Mike
to this?
Ditka for us in New York. Oh.
Why in the world did I say yes
Mike
to this?
Ditka for us in New York. Oh, he was selling some protein bar for the brain, and it was like, oh gosh, this has got to end. This has got to end.
What is yours, Evan?
Okay, so there was one time that we knew going in this was going to be that I stuck. No, that we interviewed somebody that we knew was going to be so bad, and it was a tape. I swear to God, we did the interview without microphone. we pretended like we were on the air. And we just started talking to the person, and they never actually figured out we weren't on the air. We didn't have microphones. It was unbelievable.
Can you say who that was?
Oh, it was the name I don't remember but it was a representative. Salk, you'll know from dealing with all this kind of stuff. Like, it was a representative from a future Super Bowl location.
Oh, jeez.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So what happens is it's like, hey,
tell me what it's going to be like in San Diego next year. That type of thing. Oh my gosh.
Right. In order to get cured, you got to interview Salk, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's what it was. It was like, in order to get, like, I'm making this up. So, like, in order to get Drew Brees, who's like the representative for the New Orleans Super Bowl, you got to interview somebody from like 5 years from now, Super Bowl. I'm like, all right, whatever. And it was a taper. I'm like, we're never going to air this. So let's not even lie to the person. It would be like, all right, now back in ESPN West Palm, joined by Mike Salk. And we would do that without microphones or recording. Swear to God. Swear to God.
All right. So to this game, are we finally going to get to see the end of the game we were robbed of 2 years ago?
Sure. I think it should be close. But the thing that I would go to is, if it's close, how are you going to pick anybody else but Mahomes? That doesn't mean I'm going to be right about that. It just means, like, I go to that default setting of, oh, it's close. All right, he's got it. Like, that's it. Like, it's over. He's got it. And I understand how good the Eagles are. And I said before the season, we did like a bold prediction segment. It's new. Nobody's ever done that on national radio. Bold predictions that if they go right, you talk about it. And if they go wrong, they never happen, kind of thing. I picked the Browns to go to the Super Bowl. If the Chiefs didn't, no big deal. That was good. So I said, could this be the Chiefs' 07 Patriots year? 15-2, meaning best regular season, lose in the Super Bowl. 15-2, their best regular season. Could they lose in the Super Bowl? That's kind of where I went. But I think in order for that to happen, it can't be close. I'm probably going to be so wrong about this, and you should play this back on Monday and destroy me. Now, why would you play it back on Monday? I don't know. But, I mean, theoretically.
Evan, we're not actually on the air. Evan, we're not on the air right now.
We're just taping this for nothing.
You're so good. You're actually just trying to get campy, so I got to do the pre-interview.
Actually, we're trying to get Michelle next week, so this is.
Let's see how this is going to go.
We said we would take you so we could get Michelle.
I would give you guys such credit if this is now not on the air, if you've gone to break and you're just screwing with me. Like, you guys are already one of the best radio shows in America and one of the best radio stations. But if you then continued my bit, oh, that would have been amazing.
Now that we know the bit, we'll do it next time. We couldn't pull it off this quickly. Yeah.
I'm going to guess we could go back through the archives of some of your different years and the different stops you've been, and it probably sound like Salk and I 10, 15 years ago, and it's like, we'll never see another Brady. I mean, you're just never going to see another GOAT. Like what he is doing, 10 Super Bowls, ultimately winning 7 of them, you're just never going to see this kind of run. There's nothing in the NFL that is set up, for this kind of deal, and yet here we are. I mean, Mahomes got a chance.
Let me ask you a question then in return on this, okay? As a quarterback, not you, Salk. As a quarterback, what's his number one skill what Mahomes, what he does better than anyone you've ever seen? The skill that he has that is better than anyone else ever.
Yeah, it has got to be there's so many, Evan, that throw the ball well. We had Jason Garrett last week. It was awesome talking about the art of throwing, the evolution of throwing. The fact, though, that he, like Steph Curry, extended the range to 40 feet and shoots better than anybody in the history. To me, Mahomes' arm angles, his creativity, his ability to throw at any time, in any spot, in any place is just truly that unique.
I love that answer. I got to be honest with you. The arm angles is such a brilliant answer.
And I saw him, Evan. And honestly, I saw him when he was in college, and I think Salk would attest to this. And Bob Wischusen did. He and I had probably 3-4 Mahomes games, always on the road, and usually against pretty good competition. And in fact, his last game against LSU in the Houston Bowl, we were up in the 95th floor there and could hardly see anything. But I could see a guy that was doing things I'd never seen before. He ran full speed, outrunning LSU to the boundary, and somehow, some way, slingshots like David did back across the field. And I'm like, I've never seen that. I've just never seen a guy with his body mechanics, his creativity, his, he was the front runner to it, and I think is still the best to do it in the most unique ways.
That is a phenomenal answer, because for me, like when I think about, if I were to be asked the same question that I just asked you, I probably would have gone the improv, but I don't know if I would have been right on that. But I think the arm angles is a brilliant answer, because I do think his obvious comp is Steph Curry, right? In terms of changing the game. Yep. But then if you dive in what has he changed about the game? Like, Steph's not the first person to shoot a three. He's not the first person to be a great passer, ball handler, whatever it is. But the range, he's extended the court in a way that no one has ever done that. And I think your answer about Mahomes and the arm angles is so interesting, because just throwing the ball the quote unquote regular way, Tom Brady, in my opinion, is better than that than anyone, right? That doesn't mean he's the best arm or the best, just all in, right?
Yep.
But Mahomes changed the sport in that he almost has multiple arms.
Correct.
Which I guess everybody has multiple arms, like 2 arms. I mean, more than one.
We just got off with the Mariners scouting director. They got a pitcher, Evan, that throws right and left.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out, what are we going to do with him? He was a pretty top pick last year.
Isn't in this case, isn't this what you're actually saying? It's not that he throws right and left. It's that he has multiple right arms.
Correct.
Yeah.
At different locations. I know that sounds utterly absurd.
Well, he's got Jeff George.
That's kind of what it is.
Fling it like Jeff George. He can throw it conventionally like Tom Brady. He can throw it on time and precision like Drew Brees. He's got every arm angle there is. And by the way, he's got movement and creativity in the extension of plays.
You guys got to add one more thing, though. I appreciate all of the stuff, and I did write down on my screen here. Okay, Brock will say either create or creative, and you're not wrong. Everything you guys said is awesome. Don't you have to add the element of clutch, though? I mean, he has been one of these guys, like Brady and a couple others, Montana and a few others, who, as you just said, Evan, if it's close late, you're taking Mahomes. And, I'm curious to see on the other side of it if Hurts can win a shootout, because that's what they were in a couple of years ago. It was a shootout back and forth. You get the stupid holding call, and regardless of whether he, held him or not, we were all denied the opportunity to see whether or not Jalen Hurts could finish it out, whether he could be as clutch as Mahomes. And I that's got to have been eating at him for the last 2 years, that he didn't get his last shot to match Patrick Mahomes. And I'm psyched to see if he can do that when they get out there.
I think they're going to win, though. If they win, it's not going to actually come down to that, even though I think that he's capable of doing that. And I actually I think they're going to have to just play their game with run first, and that's going to be the way they potentially win. And I know everybody defaults to like, oh, let's see if Jalen Hurts can do it. It drives me crazy when we do this because I go back to, I remember there was a critique back in the day when Shaq would be dunking every time down floor. He was like, oh, that's all he could do is dunk. And I'm always like, well, what would you like him to do? Shoot from half court? Like just to prove he can do something. Like if the Eagles can run for 4 or 5 yards a clip every time, why do they need to prove that they could throw the ball 60 yards down the field? Like, who cares?
So what?
And I understand that's not what you're saying, but like, if it doesn't have to come down to that, then don't make it come down.
That's a good point. Talking to Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike, morning show on ESPN Radio that precedes us. Which do you think is harder, or maybe easier to build? Is it easier to build a team like the Chiefs have around an unbelievable franchise quarterback? Or is it easier to find an unbelievable franchise general manager like Howie Roseman and build a team that is nearly perfect everywhere, even if the quarterback is not one of the top 5 guys in the league?
Okay, so you guys are better at answering that than I am because you literally have that. So you tell me, like, because the Seahawks have had, in my opinion, a hell of a general manager for a long period of time, and he built an unbelievable team when he had a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback in Russell Wilson. Since then, what they have done, I admire because the Seahawks are always good. They're just sometimes not good enough, right? But they're good, and they have a great general manager, at least in my mind. I also look at Green Bay as another program that has a great general manager with Brian Gutekunst. Ironically, obviously, those two guys, I'm sure, work together, John Schneider and Goody, in Green Bay. But, like, I think it's easier in theory to build around an all-time great quarterback. It's just impossible to find an all-time great quarterback. Yeah. But I think what you're looking at with Howie Roseman may be a slightly better version of the Seahawks, no?
Yeah, we're a little challenged here. We're a little spoiled. We're a little spoiled by goodness. We're a little spoiled by goodness,
and not greatness.
We're in a little rut with our teams here in Seattle, with the Mariners, the Seahawks. Good, they're good.
I think you're right when it comes to a lot of the ability to build good teams and find good talent, especially throughout the draft. But I think what Howie Roseman's done, especially over the last 5 to 7 years, with building up front, what he's done on the offensive and defensive lines and building with big people first. And then this offseason he just had is arguably the greatest of all time, where everything he touched turned to gold. Yeah, this is not a shot at John Schneider. It's just that Howie's just doing it. It's such an elite level. It's sort of the Jalen Hurts compared to Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Hurts has been great. He's not Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. No, and that is fair, and obviously you guys know that better than I do, and you guys are much closer to it than I am, outside looking in, of course. But what Howie Roseman has done, and this is not my thought, I'll give credit to Hembo from Greeny and Get Up. He says that and he's an Eagles fan, so again, he's like sensitive to this stuff in a good way. I mean, he says the Philadelphia Eagles have somehow built a culture and a team that is coach-proof and quarterback-proof. And you hear that, and you're like, that is the most absurd thing in the world in football. But this is now the third coach in the last 20 years that they've been to the Super Bowl with, and the third quarterback that they've been to the Super Bowl with. And, oh, by the way, it's the fourth intended quarterback because it was supposed to be Wentz, obviously, after Foles. Right, if you think, or before Foles, excuse me, and they were really good when Wentz was their quarterback, and he was potentially going to win MVP that year before Foles took over. So they have done something that is completely mind-boggling, if you look at it that way. Is they have changed over coaches and changed over quarterbacks in a way that no one else has. And oh, by the way, even like the Chip Kelly years, which are looked at as horrible, there, we're not that bad. Like if you look at it just numerically without context, like not that bad at all. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. That you guys are looking at it as like the Seahawks have been really good. I do want to put a shout out, and you're saying Seattle sports is kind of like in terms of being good. My buddy Pat Chun, AD at Washington, is going to make that program awesome, basketball and football, and he's going to kick ass there.
Look at you throwing a little something in on the way out. Okay, last question for you. Last question from me for you. We can talk about the bad. We could talk about the Super Bowl representative that wasn't even on mic. We can talk about the a very late age Mike Ditka trying to sell protein bars to help your brain. How about good? Is Evans getting on his plane from LaGuardia down to New Orleans, and you're thinking about, man, there's also some great guests. I would love over the next 3 days when you're doing the morning show down there to talk to Who are 2 or 3 that would be on your A list?
Okay, well, I know our guests already, so how would you like me to do this? Lie and pretend I don't?
Yes.
Just give us 2 or 3 you're excited about,
give
maybe.
Us 2 or 3 that are on your list. Theater of the mind.
Watch this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pretend, as we're talking live on the air here, I'm going to pretend I don't know the following people are going to join us, and they're going to be my targets.
Okay.
Guys, that's a great question. I would love somehow, some way for us to speak to Joe Montana or Eli Manning or Kenny Chesney or Emmett Smith or Gary Vee. Like, just throwing those names out there in hypotheticals. Just maybe, possibly. Maybe we could pull that off.
Chesney?
Yeah?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good answers.
Maybe Kendrick Lamar, who's not actually our guest, but maybe Kendrick Lamar. Guys, here's the thing. We were going to have Beyonce, but I turned her down for the Super Bowl representative from Atlanta.
Yes.
I can see that. You were willing to take the Super Bowl representative in order to get Beyonce on your show later this week. Hey, Evan, awesome. Love it. Thank you for joining us. Have a great time down there. I do say it often, and I use stuff from your show all the time. I think you guys are doing a great job. I love that they hired radio people to do a radio show. We are going to, I think, talk to Michelle next week as well, and Chris does a great job. So thank you. We appreciate it. Have a great time down there.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me. And, of course, you're going to talk to them because you have to do the interview with me first.
Exactly right. All right, there you go. There is Evan Cohen, longtime friend in the business who does an awesome job with Unsports. I knew you'd like him. He's fun.
Oh, he's
a fun dude.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Yep. I tell people this. I was just chatting with a youngster that's an aspiring media guy, and you know my counsel always to anybody in the business is do radio.
Mm-hmm.
If you can do radio, you can do television. I firmly believe that. If you do radio, you can get up in a booth and have an opportunity to, make a point and ad lib and create. And radio is a great, it's a great breeding ground for that if you can do it well. And Evan does it really well.
That's why I like talking to other radio people, because I think for the most part there's some pretty funny people out there who do our job. They're opinionated, they're entertaining.
Does it feel like it was 10 years ago, by the way?
Yes.
Does it feel like it was 10 years ago when we were there? It is, right?
It is starting to feel that way.
When you look how much of the league has turned over, Salk, how many coaches have turned over, how many organizations have, like all the different people and personnel, like 10 years is an eternity. And it had been 10 years since we were down there in Arizona.
I wonder how many times since then Bruce Arians has drunk paint.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, it was 2 before then. Another decade, it's got to be at least one more time that poor Bruce has gotten confused and, taking a sip of paint.
Yeah. So the year before, right, in New York, you were on your sabbatical, and it was Danny and I.
Yeah, I missed that.
And gosh, who was the rapper? Danny was so worried about me. He's like, oh, gosh, you're going to screw this up. Kid Cudi?
Maybe.
Is that a name?
That might have been right.
That was
that
absolutely.
That is a famous rapper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was definitely who it was, and it definitely went okay. And then who's the guy that was the star, all the impersonations? Now he's not quite as big.
Frank Caliendo?
Yeah, Caliendo comes on, right?
Oh, is this when you were asking him to do impressions that weren't on a sheet?
That's exactly right.
Nice job.
I had no idea. And the look he gave me, and he gave me the slash of the throat, and I'm like, oh gosh, oh boy, okay, don't need to do Peyton, man. Don't worry about it. You don't got Peyton.
He doesn't do Peyton? How hard could it be to do Peyton?
Yeah, didn't do Peyton.
Just want to thank my brother Eli, my dad Archie, the Lady Vols.
You do a very average Peyton.
I know.
Your rant earlier, A+.
I don't have enough roids in my system to make the Peyton thing work. I got to talk to his wife and see if she can hook me up. I mean, they were for her. Obviously.
Hey, do we have DJ tomorrow?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Daniel Jeremiah.
Good.
I thought it was gonna be Kid Cudi's DJ. Different kind of DJ.
Day and night.
We did the interview without mics. That's impressive.
That's pretty good.
That is really impressive.
That's pretty good. You guys should listen to that show. He's funny. And Michelle's awesome. And Chris does a really good job, too. So, All right. Speaking of people doing great work, let's turn things over to Bump and Stacy. They are coming up next. And we will plan to be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. with Daniel Jeremiah at 8:30. How about that? Until then, Brock, you know where the hay is?
I know where it is. It's in the barn.
That's exactly right. See you, everybody.
Get to the chopper! Seattle Sports, your home for Bump and Stacy.
Best quarterbacks in the NFC. Geno is not on the list for either of us. I know that there are people listening that would have Geno on the list, and I know that there are some listening that absolutely would not. Is it a problem that he's not?
I don't think it's a problem because I think that he can be in the top 5. I think in 2025, he might be in the top 5 if certain things happen. He just cuts down on the turnovers, and the offensive line does a better job of protecting him and contributing to him not having to force the ball and turn the football over.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Sherry, what have you done to your hair? What do you mean? Does it not look good? It doesn't look good. It looks freaking amazing. I can't believe how thick and healthy it looks. Oh, I must know your secret. No secret. It's hair volume from New Nordic. Hair volume, huh? Well, it certainly lives up to its name. Your hair has never looked so thick. It is gorgeous. I was so tired of having thin and brittle hair. Ugh, and shedding. So I figured I'd give hair volume a try. Needless to say, I'm thrilled with the results. Hey, where are you going? I'm going to pick up some hair volume right now. My reunion's next month, and I want my hair to look as good as yours.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or your local CVS. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Help your hair look full, voluminous, and beautiful again at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with turbo power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55